still the one, and I need this one, so I pull up and
wash away the toxicity.
With no passion, and the candles burning, and the candles burning, and it's time for you to join the club. Here we go again. Critically drinking, stay thirsty, my friend. Burning the clouds and hoping never.
Hustle and grind culture is another version of it. I can sleep when I'm dead. You'll be dead.
It's showtime. Come in and have a drink with the whole crew. Come on then, join the panel or chill from the chat. Do it how you wanna do. The misfit thoughts keep the whole chat lit. Ooh, and soon you'll be a part of it too. So come back again, my friend, or we'll confine you. Here we go again.
What's up?
Critically drinking, stay thirsty, my friend. Burning love and hoping never. If it does, oh, we'll be back again. Now let's make one thing clear. Because of you is why we're here. You give us life, you give us love. That is why we want you get to our heart. Come and join the show, cause we need you to grow. So pull up a chair and share with us all of the things you know. Here we go again. Critically drinking, stay thirsty, my friend. Burning the love and hoping never. If it does, oh, we'll come back again.
And like the song say, hey, don't, I will come find you. Easy way. With a hard way.
Amazing.
I got my own platform. If I got something to say, I hit my live button, ho.
Indeed. What's up, y'all? What's going on? It's your boy Rashawn back in the building. We got Yellow Pill Coffee in the building. We sipping. And Nate, how you doing today? Good to see you. Good to see you, man. It's gonna be a nice little casual stream. My internet may not hold up well. There's a storm in town. It is what it is. It is what it is. Yellow's already got me disturbed. Talk about, look like Rashawn's reading corner. I was like, he got me, because it does. It does. I'm just all up in the corner. And I watch from the corner. But listen, what we're gonna talk about today. I did what Mr. He said in the building, man. Appreciate you. I know a lot of people are at work right now, man. So y'all gonna be listening in and whatnot. I would have done this towards the evening so more people could pop up on the panel, but I got some driving to do this evening, so I would not be available for that. But this is an interesting conversation. I think a lot of you have become used to the gender war conversations in all sectors. I'm not sure why some people believe that only Black people. I'm not sure why that keeps getting said. 2-3 years into this, I'm not sure. Lonzo Hall in the building, man. Appreciate you. Good to see you. I don't know if, man, I ain't been over there in a minute, man, but I need you be on the insurance, and I really ain't got my insurance game up. Got the basic policy, but I know he was saying wipe ass, work in progress every day and see success, man. I love that one. It's stuck in my head, man. So salute to Alonzo Hall, man, for real. But we've been hearing the gender war stuff for like 3 years straight. And I heard this conversation, and it kind of like distilled a lot of the conversation into one conversation amongst the men. So I thought it was interesting. A lot of the points are the same points that we've heard. And it comes down to a lot of times like a traditional perspective of masculinity performed a very specific way. And I would say like modern masculinity, a more open, emotionally intelligent version of masculinity. It's kind of like those two things are at war with each other. And I don't think we have figured out exactly what our value set is. because a lot of times these conversations and these panels break down along value sets, value systems, ideologies. And I found that one of the biggest things for me that annoys me is like the pseudo Christianese. Like that's one of my biggest pet peeves. These people that are not really practitioners, but they talk about the values and ethics of Christianity, but not from a place of I'm practicing it. I'm just going to preach it on everybody. That's one of the things that I've noticed is starting to get on my nerves. We call it the great eggplant and kitty cat debates. 3 years later, still going. It is. And I thought, honestly, naive me, I thought by this time, at least like the guys would have like their messaging together. I thought like we would have like come to some consensuses. What I've learned though through practice is that when you do get involved with conversation with a bunch of guys, a lot of them don't want to hear different opinions. So they're actually not trying to reach consensus. They'll push you out of any conversation they don't agree with. So I've run into that myself. I like people that don't agree with me. I know it doesn't feel like that because I will challenge people that I don't agree with. And people don't want the challenge. They don't want to have their perspective inspected. That's kind of annoying. But I really like, I've grown from conversation with people that I didn't agree with. I've changed my position on quite a few things. But, man, I really thought this would get further than it did. So, Bree's in the building. What's up, Bree? They are spiritual. They are. But like they would say, man, the devil's also a spirit. So, anyways, let's get into this in a quick second. Oh, okay, you're not yellow anymore. We got an exclamation mark. I don't know how to pronounce that. How do I exclaim without a word to exclaim or a noise?
That is pronounced Naomi J. Bianca. That's how you say.
Okay, Naomi J. Bianca. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
Naomi J. Bianca. All right. I don't think I'm saying that. I'm gonna call you
You can just call me Yellow.
NJB.
You can just call me Yellow. Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. That's how that's how that symbol is pronounced, though.
Nope.
That symbol is pronounced.
Right, man.
That symbol is pronounced. Damn, they fine as hell. That's how you say that.
Is. But man, that's what's up, man. Let me ask you a question. We've been in the space 3 years, long enough for you to get sick of it. Like you just like I'll walk away. You like I'm done. You tapped out on the conversations. And I know you probably gonna hear something stupid come out of a guy's mouth, and you probably gonna rage out. What's been the most frustrating thing from the men's side of the conversation? What's been the most frustrating thing from the men's side of the gender war that's like gotten under your skin? Whether it's like something they say or how they move or anything. Just out of curiosity, because we haven't had this conversation. Like, what annoys you the most out of the men's side?
The same lack of self-awareness that they complain about the women not having. They don't realize that they're the opposite side of the extreme coin. They don't realize that they're the opposite side. They're the mirror of the women that they complain about. So,
that's facts.
Yeah.
That is fact. So this is where I'm going to start. There was a conversation on Hardly Initiated. I want to say within the last 2 weeks, but it's titled "A Debate." Anton and it might be Odie. They got to a part about they got in between the they had talked about masculinity. I got that part of that clipped up. Leadership, I got a part of that clipped up. Power in relationships, I got some of that stuff clipped up. But where I want to start was actually this right here. This is where I want to start. Hypocritical. Reckless Ray in the building, man. Appreciate you coming through, man. This is where I want to start. Is the hypocritical part, because I don't know who. I want to ask y'all, how do y'all determine who you listen to? Now, I do know that most of the people that come through here, they do not just take what people say as gospel. We're not those type of people that hear something and just immediately like, oh, that's right. We're not those type of people. Cool. But how do you determine who you listen to? And and I'm asking this to you at the same time, Yella, do you think that the messenger matters? Like, do you think that will you ignore a message simply because the messenger was wrong?
I sure the fuck will. I will definitely discount the message because of the messenger.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I pick and choose who I listen to. One, depending on if it's connected to any type of religious beliefs. Hold on. I don't think my background gonna hold up.
All right, do what you need to do, Blake.
I don't think my background gonna hold up.
It's too fine. Too fine for the screen. Sorry, they're just a little smaller. That's all.
We just had to bring them to the circle. Too much. Yeah. Too much fine for them. Anything that's like I said, anything that's attached to like a religious, like as soon as I'm listening to something and they try to turn it into any type of belief structure, I check out.
Okay.
And I know that's hard to. I know that's a hard requirement to have in Black YouTube, because that's like 93.8% of the content. You know what I'm saying? It's just it's that underlying thing. But yeah, it's once that's kind of brought up, I check out.
I can see that, man. Give me a second, real quick. Boom. I'm trying to see these. I want to bring up their list of their conversations, but consistency, topics, and content creators. I am one of those people that I believe in the message. If I listen to the message, I'm one of those people that if the message is being delivered in an effective manner, I kind of do what Ray says: chew the meat, spit out the bone. Some people, though, there's just so much bone, it's not worth going back to, and I'll leave those people alone. I leave those people alone, because sometimes it's not worth listening to like 3 to 5 hours for like 5 minutes of quality information, and it's probably something you already know. You just heard it packaged different. So that's one of the things I have a problem with. But I really like different messaging, or hearing the message through different words. Sometimes like the framing of a message can really matter. And I do believe that you can have a poor messenger for a really great message. I listen to everyone, process it, take what's usable, and throw out the bed. Yeah, I'm with that. What's up, Anaya? Yeah. In ya. Hey, Lo. I agree with that. Too much bone, get them gym somewhere. Yeah, and that's the thing. I found myself leaving spaces where I get like I get more worked up than I do like in my thought process. Like, I'm just getting annoyed. So it's like, why am I here? So I get it. I don't begrudge anybody that I'm not for, because I don't have a lot of sacred cows, and some people hold a lot of things like sacred, like Jesus or whatever. I don't really care. There's nothing that I won't make fun of. There's nothing I won't kind of like disrespect in a way. And if you hold dear something, I'm probably going to make fun. I was making fun of OJ earlier, and everybody was saying too soon. So, but it is what it is. Rest in peace, OJ. I'm not going to make a joke here. I'm not going to make a joke. Hold on. Let me suppress the jokes. Let me suppress the killer jokes. Come on. Give me a second. Whew.
All the juice been squeezed.
It's just, I just don't have a lot of sacred cows. I try not to attack anybody personally. Like, I'll never talk about Yella, like, Yella, you're a this, that, the other. I don't like attacking people personally. But I will say something that people take personally. And I get that. So I get why some people have migrated away or couldn't take the challenge. I get it. And similarly, everybody's not for me either. So I don't begrudge anybody that just doesn't hang around. It ain't their cup of tea. I'm not mad at that. Regardless, it just doesn't, that isn't the thing that's important. I think though, we need to learn how to collaborate better. Like in this conversation, show me that people can collaborate, but there's something in our thought process that breaks down. And I had another exchange on another channel recently. I was like, I see where the breakdowns keep happening. And I know I did a stream about power dynamics with Bree last week. I feel like a lot of this stuff is power dynamics. Like some people don't understand how best, not that there's a right way, how best to wield power for the results they say they want. I think that's important because if you're like running a channel or you have a panel of people, there's certain ways that you might want to move to get more effective results or to allow people to communicate clear or to reduce friction and conflict that's not resolvable. Like there are things that we can do for the people that hold power, that have the wrench, that hold the ban button. There are things that we can do. Drop somebody down, mute them. There's things that we can do. And some of us like to sit back and let stuff happen for the sake of engagement, which I get. But those eyeballs aren't translating into effective, like practical, employable skills that people can transfer to their day-to-day life. Like that's what I have the issue with. Like 3 years in, and I know like Reckless Ray talks about finance. Mr. He said they talk about family, and protecting the kids, how people should move in the world. There are a lot of people that talk about some practical things in their conversations, but there are a lot. The bigger channels are typically ones that do not talk about practical things. But in this specific case, this channel, Hardly Initiated, they bring on people that do talk about practical, employable things. They bring in guests, all types of guests, but I've noticed that most of them are from the religious sector. There are a lot of pastors, or I would say pseudo-religious people like Anton Daniels. He speaks a lot about the Bible, but I'll say for me, if I'm looking at the way he talks and moves, like when he's engaging with other humans, which is one of those things that Jesus talked about, like showing love, the principles don't seem to hold up. And just to show it real quick, like agreements keeping you single. I'm not sure. Soul ties. Soul ties is one of those things that comes out of the Christian sector. Power dynamics. I can't remember. I listened to that conversation, but I do not remember if they were Christian or not. Anton, he claims a lot of faith. Willie Moore, I believe, Willie Moore Jr., he is Christian. Pastor Tim Ross. So there's a lot of pastor. I think R.C. Blake's Dr. Cindy Trim is definitely in the religious sector. So there's a lot of religious people that they bring on from, especially from the Christian soul ties down here, spiritual warfare. They bring on a lot of people from the religious sector. Religious adjacent. I like that terminology. Religious adjacent. So to me, that was the brand. I thought it was like a Christian type channel content. Okay. I listen to some of the stuff, and I'm one of those people that like Reckless Waves. So I could take some, and I can leave the rest. I'm not going to start believing in Jesus, all that stuff. There's that patriarchal, biblical version of masculinity: God, man, woman, child. So I can listen to it and leave that stuff alone. Trying to live in this space aren't here to drill down to what's right or effective. They're here to be right. Yeah, that's what I see a lot of. They ain't engaging genuinely. They're trying to look cool and win. Yeah, a lot of characters. So that's what I thought. That was my perception. And I couldn't find anything where they say specifically that it's a Christian channel or they are Christian themselves. But again, it's when I heard the repetitive messaging coming from a lot of the guests, I made that assumption. I mean, that's on me. But this is where I get to the question about who are your messengers, because I want to start with something. Let me find the verse video, because Anton kind of, he called himself out. The guy called himself out. I'm gonna share the video file first. Let me see if that works. And we're gonna go through this because I want to start with who the messengers are.
I've had a lot of men on here, come on the platform, and it's interesting because I actually think it's a bit of truth to what Odie's saying, because when I'm thinking about it, you made a good point. Even when you was talking about, like, when you was standing on what you was standing on earlier, especially the biblical principle, you were saying, look, that's just not going to go in my house. That's demonic. That's something that's just not even of the rule or law when I come to what's black and white right. And you really can't get mad at black and white. But in some ways, I will admit, even as a man, first of all, I'm very honest about the situation. I have not stopped my run in fornication at all. I'm sexually active. And I can't say
He
that
out
that's
shit.
right, because every time
He
I
out
have
shit.
sex, I'm at risk of creating one of these households.
Because you know they was talking about single moms. You already know. I'm at risk of creating one of these households. It means he raw dogging. Yella, as a president of the Cheek Clappers Association, as CEO, do you this is just a playful question. Do you have a problem with a guy that kind of pushes a lot of pro Christian content who's still out here? Like I'm still out here. But again, I know you're a secular cheek clapper. How do you feel about the Christian cheek clappers? Outside of marriage.
I mean, shit, I personally don't feel no way about it. That's gonna be up to them and their creator. Yeah, I don't really feel no type of way about it. Shit, more cheeks is clapped. I don't care if you lying to yourself. I don't care if you lying to the person you with. Shit, as long as cheeks is getting clapped, you know what I'm saying? I really ain't got no problems with it. But it kind of all boiled down to my bigger issue, which is, it's the sign of hypocritical times that we living in. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's this push to want women to stop being so sexually promiscuous while we don't curb our want for sexual activity as men. Yeah, you look a little dumb. You look a little dumb, right? That's why I'm just like, be out here. I don't care. Throw that shit, drop back and throw it like Pat Mahomes. God damn it, that's what I'm talking about. Throw that shit around everywhere.
Slanging it.
I mean, because shit, you got it. That's what we got them for. You know what I'm saying? To use them. So, just use them wisely. If you talking about every time I do this, I take a risk of making a household. No, you don't use a condom.
Irresponsible.
You out here raw dog. No, you're not. It's not that hard not to get a woman pregnant. It's really not. It's so not. You know what I'm saying? Wrap it up. Make sure it ain't expired. Don't put them in your wallet, fellas. And if you put them in your wallet, don't sit on your wallet. That's two health. That's two health things for you.
Practical tips.
Don't put them in your wallet.
CEO.
Right. And don't sit on your wallet either, because having your wallet in your back pocket throws off your balance while you're sitting down, right? Because you want to be sitting flat and even. If you got a wallet in your pocket, you got some sitting kind of tilting you sideways, right? You know what I'm saying? So you want to take the wallet out your pocket, put it in your regular pockets, man. So there you go.
No, I'm with that. And real quick, just to introduce everybody on the screen right there, that's Tyshawn Jackson. He's one of the hosts of Hardly Initiated. Below in the trucker hat is Anton Daniels. If you've never seen or heard of him, more power to you. The bottom right-hand corner is this coach guy. I can't remember his name for the life of me. And during the stream, most people couldn't remember his name. Coach something. And then Professor Odie, I think he's a pre-licensed therapist. I can't remember what state, but that's Professor Odie in the top in the black sweatshirt. So those are the cast of characters. And the other guy is when he'll come up. Man, I can't remember his name. Why can't I remember his name? All of a sudden. The other guy from the host of podcast, he'll come up. And I'll let me look up his name. I should know their names. God dang it. Hold up, y'all. The Initiated. What's the other guy? Not Tyshawn Jackson. Why can't I remember his name?
He makes fake stuff face. That's his name.
Come on, does anybody know that dude's name? The one with the beard. Oh, God dang it.
Harry McBeard face.
Man, stop it. I'm done. I'll figure it out. But let Tyshawn. Tyshawn was saying he's still out here. But again, I'm asking this question because I'm the messenger. They're pushing a lot of Christianese, Christian adjacent content. The value set is from a Christian perspective, a lot of biblical masculinity talk, a lot of that kind of stuff. A lot of that's coming out of this platform. But then he's like, you know what? In the middle of this conversation where they're talking about like it was supposed to be about men, but of course they migrate to baby moms. It's baby mom's fault. Aunt Ryan, thank you. Ryan. But of course, they migrated to the women. He's like, you know what? I'm still out here at risk of making the exact type of household that we're talking about. So he's self snitching. So I like the fact that he's self snitching.
So I'm a part of it, right? So the reality of the situation is, if we talking on biblical principle, a lot of times I will say this too as men. I do it all the time. We can cherry pick what's righteous and what works based on our benefit.
Yes,
because
sir.
if I'm looking at it from an even-handed perspective, technically, if we talking biblically, like you were speaking prior in the conversation, we really should not be even putting women at risk in fornication, because if we did have sex responsibly on our end, that also does lessen the likelihood that these broken homes are created. But we in sex hookup culture, knee deep in the game on both sides, and this is just really is what it is. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, when it comes down to it, Anton, do we as men have no accountability to
we do have
broken homes?
But see, for example, the first time that you and I ever even spoke on the phone, I was digging into you.
Pause.
You know what I mean? I don't listen. We no.
Yeah, that delay was serious. I said, bro,
go ahead.
We grown men, and so I don't have to say pause because I'm very
good. You good.
You know what I'm saying? We grown men, but the fact of the matter is, I was digging in, and I was making sure that I pushed you and held you accountable, and I was giving you the game and making sure that you understood what it took in order to be successful in several different areas, and using myself as an example and my own wife. And that was the conversation that we had. The first time that me and you talked, that was the conversation. That's a fact.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with women. It had nothing to do with holding women accountable or anything like that. And so we are working and we are holding each other accountable. And that's my job as your brother. If we have a relationship offline or online, that's my job to push you and it's your job to push me. We do that.
Now, pause. No pause. I gotta ask a question. Anton is big on holding women accountable. That's cool. That's great. And he said, I'm holding the guys accountable too. In our first conversation, I was holding you accountable. But the guy led this conversation off by saying, I'm still out here doing the thing that we're saying we don't want for the community. We don't want for our families. I'm still at risk of creating broken homes. I'm still out here leaving a trail of bodies. I'm still out here doing all the things that we up here talking against. What does accountability mean when no matter who you're talking to, when you're talking to the king of accountability, nothing changes? A shout out to Bravo with Sheila. When nothing changes, nothing changes. What does accountability mean when the people that you're talking to don't care to change their life? Like, so I'm wondering then, because this is one of the things I had to figure out, even with my own channel and content, what was my intent? Because if you're talking to people, because Ken Denan was talking about it in the Discord, people have talked about it with me. I talk about it with other people. Like, why do we keep saying things to people that are not invested or interested in change? So is it just to hear ourselves talk, which is what I had to come to grips with? I just like to talk. And that's okay. I'm not here to save the world, because people like Tyshawn, they're not going to change unless they're ready to change, unless they want to change. It doesn't matter what they teach. It doesn't matter what game they give you. It doesn't matter what host or the other people they bring up to tell you the right way. They'll still be out here living the exact opposite way, even with mentors, brothers, leaders, all up in their ear, like Craig Mack. But what about you, Yella? How do you feel about that? Like, how do you feel about male accountability? Can I hold you accountable? Can I keep you accountable, Yella?
Hell no. Can't nobody hold nobody else accountable for shit. Nobody. You can say what you want. You can talk to your motherfucking lips start chapping. But if I don't do something, you can't do shit about it. Mm-hmm. So it's like you said, same way he talking about first time I was talking to you, I was digging to you. And like you said, he just said, well, I'm still out here doing the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm still out here wilding. So that's that's another part why I gave up on the conversation. Because I wasn't necessarily out here trying to hold nobody accountable, but at the same time, I realized that nobody's gonna also listen. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's gonna willfully listen. So it ain't even about holding people accountable.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just my observation. Most people in space won't willfully listen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's kind of this thing where it's also cherry picking, not only cherry picking on what you do, but like how you listen.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And what you listen to. That's why the person in the messenger is big for me. I don't care what type of success this dude has. I don't care what type of success or accomplishments or results anybody has. If your general presentation is just shit, then I'm good. Because having your results also mean I have to have part of your personality. And I don't know why people don't think I don't know why people don't think that's the thing. Like if you're listening to a message from somebody, you're taking that message from them from their point of view, which means the bad things about them is still within that message. No matter how good, because the thing about it is like you're taking a message. Say, you know how you get something from like swap meet or the flea market, you gotta take it home and clean it, sanitize it, do all that. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what we're doing with messaging. So when the idea chew the meat and spit up the bones, yeah, it's like going to buy a brand new couch from a swap meet and having to go wash it and disinfect it, make sure ain't no bugs in it.
Yeah,
You know what
no
I'm
bed
saying?
bugs.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? That's yeah. So I couldn't see, and the results, and it's showing like the conditions of this sector or platform or however this look, like the condition of YouTube is showing that, right? So it's either reached the point it's gonna reach or it's in a decline. It's not. I don't see it going higher, and this is it's because of the people that's in the forefront of this. You know what I'm saying? You can't hold these people accountable because guess what? It's their own channel. Everybody's channel is named after them. Everybody's channel is their name. So it's what they want. You can't. I feel like I'm rambling, but
Nah, I get you though. I get you. I mean, that's what got me. That was one of the things that caught me off guard was like he's saying like, I'm holding everybody accountable. Everybody wants. We talk about accountability a lot, and like if people in the chat been pointing, accountability is for yourself. You have to accept accountability. Nobody can really throw it on you. You can hold somebody responsible, like I know what Blaze said. You can hold somebody responsible, but accountability is something you have to choose to take on. Now, accountability is a choice, but responsibility you can put responsibility on somebody, but you may not have the power to enforce it. Now we go back to power dynamics. That's why accountability and responsibility are such a problem, I would say, in the Black community, because the only people that can truly create dynamics like that are people that hold power. And within Black Americans, there's not a lot of power to enforce anything. So the lowest level of power, I would say, is the self. But who's running the household? If you're not running the household, you don't have any power there. You just only have power over yourself, which can only be accountability. You can't hold anybody responsible. If like I think somebody said they're not under your covering. So if they're not under your umbrella of power, whatever that looks like, financial, whatever protection, whatever it is, you can't hold anybody responsible, really. You can say it, you can think it, you can feel it, but you can't actually put anything to them. You can't write a ticket, you can't put them in jail. There's no enforcement on them. So if you don't have any power, you don't have any enforcement, which is important for things like respect and responsibility. If there's no consequence, a lot of the stuff is just conversation, which is where I really feel like a lot of this stuff is landed, but we don't know that. A lot of people I still feel like are still fighting for power in conversation. We talked about Socrates last week, me and Bree. Like there's sway, there's influence, but we don't even have that. Like it's getting lost. There's something getting lost in translation. I've heard many content creators talking about holding people accountable. Just how are you going to do that on YouTube? It's the internet. Yeah, because they'll click off. The moment you try to hold somebody accountable, they can just disappear. No consequences mean no accountability. Consequences require power, which these fools don't have. Exactly. Everything starts in the home. So it's really it's something that I know is just missing from a lot of conversation. But I thought this was such an important part where dudes like, I'm still out here. I'm out here getting it. I'm up here. I'm gonna bring a preacher on 2 times every 6 days. I'm gonna have a preacher, and I'm gonna have a prophetess, and I'm gonna have an evangelist, and I'm gonna have a missionary worker, and I'm gonna have this person. And at the end of the day, I'm gonna go smash this person that I met in the comments because they know I got money, because the podcast is growing, and I'm gonna smash Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. I'm gonna still be out here wilding and raw dogging because I can. And that caught my attention. Like, wow, it doesn't matter who's in your life. It doesn't matter what good words you're hearing from how many different places. You're still gonna make these exact same choices because it feels good. And I'm like, wow, what can we do at that point? What can we do? There's no power in verbalizing discrepancy and advice. So I'm here, like all I'm doing is asking questions. Why do y'all feel about it? So for me, I know this is just conversation. I have no enforcement arm. I can't take idiots off of YouTube. I can't fire nobody from a job. It's, you know what I'm saying? So power only in conversation. I'm just asking a question for entertainment's sake. Removing oneself from people. Consequences being lack of opportunity. Let's hear what Anton, what he rebuts, how he responds.
Already happening across the board. I don't let you get away with saying, yeah, man, I'm just out here fornicating. You know that ain't gonna fly with me. That don't fly.
But it's flying.
And so when we then extend the conversation,
this the thing though. This the thing, Anton. Everybody don't have a brother like you and me. It's just like it's a lot of toxic ass women that got women giving them toxic feedback. It's the same thing that happens amongst men as well. Like,
and see, here's the thing. He points out a good point. Some people don't have positive influences, but he does. He's got the positive influences. He's got Anton in his corner. He's got the people and the preachers that he's bringing on 2 to 3 times a week, or however many times. I don't know how often they stream. Y'all have to forgive me. I'm making up numbers when I say 2 to 3 times a week. I don't know the frequency that they stream, but still, he has all of the positive messaging in the world, some of the best counsel. And he's still doing things out of order with what he's teaching. So I don't understand what does it matter if people don't have positive influences, if the people that still have all the positive influences in the world won't make the right choices. We don't have good examples. We can't set any. Okay, I think that's it. I think that's why that's where I figured out my problem with this part of the conversation was. It doesn't matter what your messaging is if your example runs exact opposite. It's the do as I say, not as I do paradox that we run into with our parents. Do as I say, not like I do. That don't fly. That don't fly. But look, go ahead and jump in before I hit. Let me catch up on the comments real quick while you do.
You go ahead. All
right, I'm hitting Anton in.
Everybody don't got a brother that's gonna put them on game on money. Everybody don't got a brother that's gonna put them up on game on morality and ethics. A lot of us have brothers out here, and bro, you in Detroit, you know what's going down. Like we got, like, player culture is promoted. So like we are not all necessarily having those same communities hold us accountable on both ends of the spectrum. So a lot of us are lacking the brotherhood that you're speaking on, which is,
but you know better and you're still doing it. So what difference does it make?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a dog. I'm an anomaly.
Exactly. Honestly, so now every guy's an anomaly. Every guy's an anomaly.
I'm gonna tell you, yell it. That's your how every woman is special.
Yeah.
And he's up here. I'm an anomaly. Every guy's an anomaly. Come on, man. We got to do better than that. Like you said it earlier. The men are the mirror of the women that they complain about.
Yeah.
So instead of saying I'm special, I'm an anomaly. They're doing the same stuff. It's crazy. It's funny. The fuck? Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Let me back up. You said I know better and I'm still doing it.
Correct.
100%. Now the thing about it is, I at least acknowledge I know what I'm doing is wrong, and I promise you, Anton, I have no intentions on staying here.
But Ty,
and we all are, and
see, that was, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna translate this. I'm a Kendra G translator right now. I have no intentions of staying here means I'm a work in progress. God ain't done with me yet. Okay.
Different men are in different places.
About the conversation though. Check this out though. I'm married and I'm doing it and I'm advocating for doing it the right way. You not, and you volunteered the information and said, "Nah, I'm a
Volunteered
dog
it.
and I'm moving out here." You know what?
Self-snitch.
You know what's gonna happen in the chat? You know what's happening right now? They love you. They love you for it because you speak to their emotions and you give them an opportunity to really feel. And it's not about whether it's not. No. Hold on. It's not about right or wrong. It's about whether or not you make them feel good.
Anton,
And I can advocate for truth.
Listen. Let's remove the
God.
chat.
Crazy.
That's how Anton builds his following. It ain't about right or wrong. People don't really care about right or wrong. I think Reckless Ray said that earlier. They just want to be right because it feels good. They get people to feel good by saying what they want to hear, and it's the craziest thing. How long can that feel good? Like even like what does it say? Like crackheads and stuff. Like the law of diminishing returns. The law, like how long can we really 3 years hearing the exact same thing? Can that really still feel the same? Can you still get the same hit off of that? Can you get the same high off of saying the black single mom is the problem? I don't know. Yeah, you already know these guys don't have solutions. Welcome, Edward Blackman. Appreciate you coming through. Feel free to speak your piece, whether we agree or don't agree, man. All perspectives are welcome here. Only thing, like if you keep just for anybody, like repeating the exact same part, because there's some people that's like repeated the exact same thing 3 times. That's kind of weird. Like, okay, you said it 3 times in a row. You're trying to get somebody's attention. But otherwise, man, just feel free. Rock out in the chat. Now, why is everything about Anton self-proclaimed? We can't find a single solitary qualified source to appoint him anything. It's all self-proclaimed. Hey, man, that's how you got to do it, man. You got to fake it till you make it.
I don't care about the chat. I'm talking about the solution.
I'm talking about
I'm completely isolating that the 100% the problem is 100% on the backs. Because first of all, I don't even.
Dude said he's not talking about the chat. He's talking about the solution. He's not even being the solution. He's the solution. Like that's the funny thing. That's what Anton, and I never agree with Anton. But he's saying, what does it matter? You have all the counsel in the world, and you're still out here. And dude's like, I'm not talking about the chat. I'm talking about the solution. You're one out here raw dogging. Like, bro, come on, man.
Like thinking that the problem or the solution is 100% on the backs of women, because first of all, that means that we are in absolutely no control of success, which I don't even like the thought of that. So the reality of it is, I don't care about what the chat is saying. What I'm actually addressing here is what is the proper solution for us to get back on track? Because do I just go home and play video games until women get it together, and is it doomsday if women don't?
I mean, that was pretty quick how he moved it over to the women. He moved it back to the women when he got uncomfortable. I like that. That was slick.
Women don't do it, or is there any way that brotherhood that you was talking about, can it be expanded? Can it be taken to the next level, and then also see incremental levels of change? Is that possible?
It has nothing to do with brotherhood because you already know what's right and wrong.
Oh, hold up. Did somebody just say that? Oh, I thought somebody just said that in the chat. My bad. I ain't about to keep scrolling up.
You know what the difference is. Men and women are 2 different creatures. We are. And I hate that people don't acknowledge the fact that there is always going to be a double standard. And the way that women need to be held accountable is completely different from how men need to be held accountable. You already know the difference between right or wrong, but you're still going to choose to do the wrong thing. Now, when it comes to women, it is a completely different conversation because they only want to feel good. And so they're going to glean to the thing that makes them feel good and the talking points that make them feel good. Most people don't seek out truth. They do not seek out solutions until it's too late. When we talk about solutions within a community or the culture, men already know better. They know what they're supposed to do. They are held accountable according to what decisions that they make. And that's just the way that it goes. When it comes to women, we don't hold them accountable. And that's also a part of the solution.
So how? I got to ask this question, Yellow. How is it that we're not holding women accountable when he does the exact same thing to women that he does to Tyshawn? And Tyshawn is still out here doing what makes him feel good. He said women want to hear what makes them feel good, but he's got his bro right there talking about I'm still doing what makes me feel good. How does that work? What up, Nova in the building?
I'm trying to keep up with the conversation, but these niggas is double talking and
all right.
and trying to inception an idea, like pull an idea out of an idea, because now it's who's supposed to be. It's funny how you're talking about who's supposed to be held accountable, how we supposed to be holding each other accountable, and we just said that you can't do that for nobody else. You can hold them responsible, can't nobody hold nobody accountable. Because to think that it's a different way of holding a woman accountable as it is to men is crazy, because you're assuming that men already know what to do. Then why are we here? If men already know what we're supposed to do, and we know right or wrong, and we make conscious decisions not to, then how are we supposed to hold each other accountable? If I know that Rashawn know right from wrong, and he keep punching people in the face, Rashawn keep fighting, but he know fighting wrong. You know what I'm saying? And I know that he knows that this shit is wrong. Then what good am I?
Mm-hmm.
What good am I? You know what I'm saying? So this is why when you ask me how do I listen to people, I know that him saying, and this ain't even like a personal attack to him, but this is also where I find the self-awareness in this space, in this quadrant of life, hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only reason most people got a platform or a level of viewership is because the things you are saying to them makes them feel good, even if it's helping them. The first thing that it does is make them feel good. Even if they're there to disagree with you, nigga, they feel good doing it. That's why people is excited to be trolling, and they just come in and have fun, and they don't even fucking take half of the fucking conversation seriously, because it
feels good.
It feels good. So that's the first thing you're doing, is making people feel good. That's how church work. That's how most coaches work. They're gonna make you feel good about doing the thing that you want to do. And even if they try to sell it where it ain't supposed to make you feel good, they're going to tell you that they're going to try to harden you up. So they either want you to feel good or feel nothing at all. But you're still going to get this great feeling at the end of it. You know what I'm saying? It's still pointing in a direction of making you feel good. The results are supposed to make you feel good. What the fuck? You think getting your life together ain't gonna make you feel good? If that's the fucking case, like, you know what I'm saying? You think
you're seeking feel good at some level. You're still seeking to feel good, either now or later.
The whole reason, and that's what be pissing me off, because it's like that's the only reason you're doing any of this is to feel better about what's going on. If you broke, you feel bad about being broke. Guess what? When you get a job, you're gonna feel better about having money. You know what I'm saying? If you're a woman and these niggas is acting crazy, when you get a man, you're gonna feel better about having a man around. That's what all of this shit triggers: endorphins. Getting money, having sex, having somebody to love, high-fiving a motherfucker triggers endorphins. It makes you feel good.
Gets people going.
So if we just going to get shit done, then we're just turning into robots. If we're not acknowledging the effects that success would have on us, or the effects that something like watching a stream that's telling us the thing. Why do you think this shit blew up in the first place? Niggas was mad. Niggas was mad at women. We heard a bunch of niggas saying some feel good shit. They was dragging these niggas. They was dragging these women. I'm one of them. God damn it, count me in. The shit was great to see. It was great to see on the mass level. Yes, drag these heifers. Right. It was good to see for a minute. Right. But then, in the same way, I understand how I feel for the women. It's good to see a bunch of like-minded people mad at the same person. It feels good.
Yeah.
So, it's hard. It's always complicated for me when all these lessons try to eliminate the one human element that drives us to do the things that we do.
That's a good point. That's everybody's motivation, but he's trying to act like it's not the point. He's like,
Yeah.
no, you shouldn't be trying to feel good, but now that's what everybody's here for. Is either you're trying to feel good now or you're trying to fix things so that you feel good later. So that's a good point, man. I like that. Big respect on that.
Wait,
I
so
want to
Anton,
talk about
what are the messages? What are some of these messages that you know are saying that are being pandered to women?
Oh my God. I would have to call out names for that.
Not real quick. Now again, we were talking about men. We were talking about Tyshawn. Now I love how Tyshawn was able to flip it because he was being grilled. Hey man, what's the point of holding you accountable? You still doing the wrong stuff. And he's mad. He manages to flip it. Now we're back to talking about women on a men's podcast about men's problems and men's solutions. We're back to talking about what women need to do, which is that's a magic trick.
I don't want to call out names because they're not here to defend themselves.
Okay,
but I would have to call out names for that. I mean, the perfect example would be a Derrick Jackson. He sold y'all the very thing. He sold y'all the worst thing for the community, and y'all followed him right off of a cliff. And you knew he was pimping you. All he did was pimp y'all. And when men told y'all, hey, he pimping y'all absolutely ignored us. Y'all said that we was toxic and we was operating in our toxic masculinity until you caught him up doing something that he wasn't supposed to do, and you still followed him. Because what you say and making it sweet to your ear is much more conducive for you, what you feel. It makes you feel good versus the truth. It just is what it is. Most people don't like the truth, but I'm not here to pander to people. I'm here to tell them the truth. My people follow me and they rock with me because they want accountability. They don't want to be pandered to. They want to be told the truth.
Now,
and so when you're ready to get the truth, that's the only way in which you can hold somebody accountable, because people going to do what they want to do anyway.
Anton, I'm going to be honest.
Hold on, bro.
No, go ahead.
The same way that when Pearl brought her funny looking ass up here, these niggas was hyping her up, buying into everything she was talking about. They was treating her like the white lady Derrick Jackson. She couldn't say no wrong. She was the example of how women should be. She was on all these niggas platforms, all this other shit. So these that's what I said, the inability to see the mirror in front of you. And this ain't even him. Like, this ain't even a particular thing, because I know some people feel a certain way about it, period. I don't, because I don't have enough investment in shock shit. You know what I'm saying? Reactionary ass shit to get it that involved. But yeah, the same way these niggas pedestalized Pearl until she showed them what the hell she was about for real. And now everybody, then everybody wanted to act like they was offended and hurt.
Mm-hmm.
At least the women that still rock with Derrick Jackson after he cheated on his wife, I can at least appreciate their stubbornness, because it's consistent with who they are. It's consistent with who they are. So you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
It ain't like they turn their back on it. Oh shit, go down with the ship.
Yeah. I would just say that it was funny hearing Anton say that the truth holds people accountable when allegedly he been holding Tyshawn accountable, and Tyshawn said, "I'm still out here." So I don't that's where male delusion comes in. Like, I'm still doing the thing that somebody's proven to me that doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
But it still works. No, I'm telling you it doesn't work because it didn't work on me, but keep doing it. I think it's one of the lies we keep telling ourselves. Like, some of the stuff we're doing is like the community building. I know it feels good to believe we're helping, but we see there's a lot of negative traction. There's a lot of negative traction, man. There's a lot of negative traction.
We on ice, bro. We 4-wheel drive on ice. 2-wheel drive. Yeah,
man, it's slipping. It's not catching. The traction is not there, boy.
Positive traction is whooping our ass right now. If y'all don't know what positive traction is, shout out to all the mechanics. Positive traction is whooping the black community ass right now. That's when one wheel spins and the other one don't. So if you ever been stuck in mud or on the ice or in the snow, and you hitting the wheel and one wheel is moving and the other one ain't, yeah.
There's a lot of that, man. And see, and that was the question I was asking. Does the messenger influence the message? And like, as I was talking, when I got to the do as I say, not as I do, That's the principle that was bothering me when I first watched it. It finally clicked in my head. These kind of platforms are do as I say, not as I do. And that's a problem because we know that's a problem in parenting. We know that's ineffective in parenting. So it's got to be ineffective from influencers as well. So it's got to be. Now, it's not that some people still can't. There are people and there's some great people that come out of do as I say, not as I do homes. There are a lot of people that come out of households where they're not like their parents. A lot of people try to be the exact opposite of the negative influences. But we also know most people follow the trends. Most people follow patterns. So it's got to be something that we at least acknowledge as problematic. If we have influencers that are not living the lifestyle that they teach, because some people are going to follow what they do, not what they say. So it's got to matter. How much? That's up to everybody's discretion. I can't enforce anything. So it's just conversation today. Yes, they can. Not always. But honestly, it does. What'd you say, Yellow?
And that's what I'm saying. It has to matter, but it will never matter. You know what I'm saying? The message has to matter, but it'll never matter because we've also fetishized being able to get good information out of bad people.
We have made that a virtue.
We've made that a virtue to be able to sit with people we don't agree with and we don't like and learn something or get something from them. We've made that a virtue.
Yeah,
we made that a thing to be proud of. Is to sit around and intertwine with people that we know damn well we don't agree with, that ain't really bringing shit to the equation for us. So now instead of it being as easy as going to somebody with the information, now we have to again it's more struggle. Now we got to struggle and decipher because everybody's got the power of discernment. Everybody's got the deciphering button. Everybody's got the you're going to get information, but you're so smart that you know which information is the right information and which information is the wrong information, but you're there to get information that you don't know. You're there to learn something. So how are you learning something if you don't know which information is the right information and which information is the wrong information?
Curation.
Right.
You have to be able to curate, but it's like we're increasingly like this is a societal problem. We're increasingly having more and more stuff to sift through. There are more podcasters, there are more TV shows, there are more channels, there are more services, there's more books, there's more of everything, which means you have to have the capacity to sort through, to curate the best, if you even want the best. So 9 times out of 10, just by sheer numbers, you're going to have a marginal outcome. You don't have the resources to sort through everything to find the diamond in the rough. So if it's not already pushed and promoted, you're probably looking at, again, like I know they call them industry plants, but things that caught the algorithm, things that caught a wave, that caught a trend, that were ahead of the time. You're going to catch things that are on a bubble or a trend as opposed to things that might be the very best for you. Because we don't have the power to curate everything that's out here. So the computers do it for us. That's what all these algorithms are for. Hey, you don't have the time to sort through all this stuff. Let me do it for you. Which again goes to the point that we're not able to do it. But I do agree, man. I do agree that we need man, Joe, because we're lazy. We're lazy. Me included. I'm not preaching down anybody. As humans, a lot of times we're looking to alleviate the pressure. We're looking to do less work, not more. And as we have a more complex and more diverse, more global society, the harder it's going to be for us to find the information that we want and need. So we're making ourselves simple. Like we're overtaxing an overtaxed system. We're overtaxing ourselves. So we end up falling victim to lazy thinking, lazy processes. But it's man, do we take education classes from uneducated? I might say we do. We require them to get credentialed now, but man, we got some idiots out here. I've told some stories. Yeah, I've told some stories on panels about some of the stuff my nephew went through in school. Man, Jesus Christ.
And I would even look at it like this. Like, remember in high school. So okay, I'll even take it back. Remember, like in grammar school or whatever, you had one teacher, all day, right? That teacher would teach you multiple things because the lessons weren't that complicated.
Okay.
Right? It was easy to get those things from all those teachers. That one teacher, it was easy to get that thing from that one teacher. You want to know why? Because she was consistent across the board on how she taught everything. She taught everything the same way, with the same intent, from the same perspective. She taught everything the same way. That's how you were able to get all of those lessons from different teachers. But guess what? When the lessons become bigger and more complicated, you got a schedule with different teachers to go see, right? Here's the trick to it, right? That's how we try to approach this type of shit. We try to go to different teachers.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. When you was in high school and you had different teachers, you had a science teacher, you had a math teacher, you had a language teacher, you had very specific teachers that you went to.
Yeah.
Here's the high school we go to. We're just going to, let's just say, we're just going to Mr. Anton's class, and we're learning whatever Mr. Anton teaches us. And then we're going to Critically Drinking's class, and we're just going to learn whatever we get from there. And then we're going to go to Harley Initiator's class, and we're not going to science class to get science from motherfuckers. We're going in there like, okay, we're in class, teach me something. Hopefully I learned something from this.
Yeah.
And that's why when it's like you're just trying to consume any information from anybody, it's you're not getting the full potential of what you need to learn.
So let me ask this question. I mean, because again, I admitted earlier, I made this mistake when it came to YouTube, thinking I was teaching. That was on me. That was like I guess hubris, arrogance. What I believe though, even was true of myself, like when I really sorted through what my motivations were, my motivations weren't really for education. I entertained myself with thoughts. So it was a source of entertainment for me. And I, of course, virtue signal as teaching, learning, but truthfully, I get off on thoughts. I get off on ideas, concepts. That's my fun. So is it that most people honestly just, even if we say learning, truthfully behind the learning, it's not really learning that we're looking for? Because there's some really great learning channels that actually teach things step by step, to have methods and practices that have, like you said, in school have been learned over time that impart information in a way through repetition or through novelty. There are people that have studied learning, like pedagogy, andragogy, that kind of stuff. There are people that have studied these crafts of teaching somebody a skill or imparting knowledge. Most of the people on YouTube that we spend time at are not that. And I think most of us, we don't go to Anton because he's a teacher. We don't go to Professor Odie really because he's a teacher. We go to people for their philosophy, their ideology, their personality. Do you think a lot of times we've mistaken something for learning that's really more entertainment? Like we kind of fool ourselves. I know I did it. But do you think a lot of us are fooling ourselves?
Yep.
Well, people are saying that, Reckless Ray. That's the only reason I say that. People will say that. People will say that. And I was one of those people that would say that, but I wasn't being honest with myself.
It's also like we could really think that people didn't come here to teach people shit. Because that's the problem. It's not assuming that people came here to learn. It's the fact that you realize that everybody thinks they're a teacher here.
Okay.
Everybody's right. Remember, I gave you the concept. Everybody's right. Everybody right. A lot of times the things that people quote unquote learn is changing their mind on something. It's not necessarily new information that's just hitting them. It's, oh, you changed my mind on that. I didn't really think of it. I didn't really think about it that way. Oh, that makes sense. I can look at it this way. Because everybody's coming in with a preconceived idea. Everybody in this space is a teacher of something. Because I kind of made the opposite mistake. I thought this was just entertainment. Like my folks just sitting up, talking a little shit. You know what I'm saying? Like you do at the bar or in the locker room. Because we know that conversation really ain't going nowhere. It's just here for us to have, but it's entertaining. And then I had to, and that's why I say it clicked to me that I realized was shit. Half of the undertone of these conversations is the Bible or some religious shit. The other half are people trying to actually get people to listen to them. I just wanted some followers. I really just like the followers and the views and folks to like, even if we talking that shit, I want folks to have a good time. That's why my approach was laughing and joking and keeping it upbeat. And then all of a sudden that became offensive to people because I was good at being entertaining. And then all of a sudden I'm in a beef here and a beef there and everywhere beef. You know what I'm saying? So yeah,
Yes, that's interesting. I mean, because I'm honestly, man, yeah, I think sometimes I would say in our self-centered minds, the ego, whatever you want to call it, a lot of us assume that everybody's where you are for the same reason at the same place in their life. So I think that's just something that a lot of us fall victim to, like not considering where everybody else is, why everybody else is. So we just assume that everybody's there for a reason, which is I think why some people get so offended by trolls. Like, oh, we're all here for this reason. We're trying to build something, and a troll comes in. It's like, most people are entertaining themselves with the idea of building something, but the trolls entertaining themselves by trying to tear it down. You know what I'm saying? Like in the same way, I think a lot of times we masquerade our entertainment as something more beneficial, but a lot of times it's just we can learn while we're entertaining ourselves. You know, you can discover a lot of things while you're learning. You're outside, you're just playing in the dirt. Oh, I found this thing. I discovered something. Ooh, it does this. That's amazing. I've learned something. But it was in the process of playing. You were in the sandbox. So I just think a lot of times we fool ourselves. And again, I'm putting myself in that forefront. I'm that person. That's that person. I'm that guy that learned that I'm not being honest with myself.
With you, man. I actually sat down here and see that's the thing about Anton. I was a lot of the guys that I was brought up around are very similar to Anton. Like the way you speak, the way you move, you're married, straightforward, even a bit of your background. So I actually can agree and rock with with a lot of what you're saying. I don't necessarily agree. I'm not gonna lie. I do have a bit of issue with the community, with pretty much our entire community being at the sole whim of women to go about getting to the next level.
But Tyshawn, to interject, I've been waiting for a while because you want to be careful about just accept what he said and don't add to it. Don't because he didn't say that our entire, you know what I mean? I think we all.
Okay, that's pretty much the end of the clip. Right there, what's going to happen next is actually Anton did mean this guy is trying to defend Anton, but Anton said, no, that's exactly what I meant. But that's the end of that part. I just kind of I'm gonna bring up something about the other guy in a second. I just want to bring up that Tyshawn part because Tyshawn's like, man, I've got all the accountability I could take. I've got Anton. I've got all these amazing brothers. I've got all these pastors. I've got all of that, but I'm still out here moving in opposition to the message. And I thought that was interesting to say the least. But I want to keep going on that train. Give me a second.
Come on, that train. While he does that, let me do this real quick while he does that. Real quick. Bam.
What you doing?
Shit, just letting them look at this for a little bit. Soak it in, people. All right.
Yeah.
We all old and single. I mean, this is the thing. Tyshawn 30, I'm 34. No. I'm talking about like
I'm young and married.
Yeah, good.
As blessings, as a culture.
Yes, as a culture, we all old and single. We had Pastor Jamal Brown on our show, and he was like, "Y'all 34 and 30 years old." He was like, "Where y'all family at?" He was like, "Oh, y'all just gonna sit here and look cool and podcast." But he was right because 4 years ago,
women.
Hold up. So this dude is 34. Before I get to Ryan, dude is 34. I just want to establish that. 34. Like, who are we listening to?
women. I'm just gonna try this out, and it's like between 21 and 25.
21.
21 and 20.
You're 33.
I'm 33 years old. It's been the best fucking experience.
I think I know why.
These women typically very malleable, right? Very, very cooperative, extremely cooperative, right?
This is Kevin Samuels Jr.
Exciting. No, listen.
For sure.
No, let me tell you, because I'm just being very honest about my experience. Like, they don't have many negative experiences, so they do truly give you grace.
Right.
Hold up. Yeah, R.I.P. OJ, man. I think 79. I think he was 79. So this dude, hold up. I wish I just cobbled these together in one video, but I got these separated out for whatever reason. Boom, boom, boom.
Women tend to be more impressionable. I think older women, you know, in my experience, you 30, 33, 35, the experiences that you have at that point is just, you know, a little bit too much for me. And I really think in some cases you really can't teach an old dog new tricks. So I prefer, you know, my women to be of the younger variety.
If a woman wants to respect you and give you the respect to lead and be her partner, why do you need to have that level of power over her if you're not trying to manipulate someone?
See, it's not power, it's impressionable. I've never seen a successful partnership where the other person wouldn't allow themselves to be impressed upon. If I'm a person and I got a vision, I got a plan, I got a whole program, I would think that the person that wants to be with me is willing to learn and willing to adopt some of the ways or even some of the principles that I have.
That's not impressionable. Impressionable is basically getting someone to do what you want them to do because they're easily swayed and easily persuaded to do what you want them to do.
Who said that? Did you make that up?
Well, I
like
can
when you hire somebody, you look for somebody that's impressionable.
But
why would I listen?
Right, so you can train them. So you can, when you hire somebody, you're about to train them.
Now,
and that's why you want them impressionable.
Like, this dude tripped me out. Like, who made that up? Like, there's a whole dictionary out here. Like, there's a whole dictionary that's available in the universe. That part killed me. Hold up, got one more of these. This dude was out here wilding.
Is going to be more open to new things. Like I said, a younger woman is going to be more impressionable. I mean, I've never met a man that is like, yo, I prefer my woman to have 10 plus years of experiences of dealing with other.
Are you in a relationship right now?
No.
Why do you think you haven't found her?
So to be honest with you, right now it's financial capacity. There's a woman that I want to meet that I am not able to access because of finance.
Can it be argued that since you know you aren't at that space to find that woman that you really want, that the women you're currently messing with, that you really don't have serious intentions on being with, you're creating those negative experiences you said you don't want for yourself?
They're in practice. Just because I am casually dating does not mean these women are having negative experience.
How? Please. When people, but see, let me tell you, we can feel like we're casually dating, but that younger woman may have a different opinion about what you're doing.
Especially if you hit her with the program.
Because she's young and impressionable. You said that, you know, you don't want a woman that's been through a lot of this, that, and other, but you gonna be one of the niggas that she going through.
But a very surface level is, I don't want her to have 10 years of experience because I want to be the first bad experience.
Exactly. So, my problem with this dude, none of that makes sense. In totality, what he's saying doesn't make sense. He's 34. He's on this podcast. The platform is, again, pseudo-religious people bringing forth these messages. Again, this is another question of the messenger. 34, dates younger. Reckless Ray says I date younger. I just like being around pleasant women with less wrinkles. Nothing wrong with that if that's your reasoning. But his reasoning is he doesn't have enough money to access the type of woman he wants. And he prefers a woman that's younger and more impressionable, doesn't have a lot of experiences. How are you going to build a life with somebody because he used the word partnership at some point. How are you going to build a life with somebody that is just impressionable, that doesn't have an ability to say? Because again, he really wants, like, that's that point when I think women are talking about a guy wants control. I think that's that guy. Like, he doesn't want any pushback. He recanted. He got challenged on that. And over the year, because again, this guy's 34 and he's talking about a 21 to 25-year-old. just out there, just started drinking, like just at that age. I didn't say they ain't got to be a drinker, but I'm just saying they just got to that age. What can you even have a conversation with them about? What you want somebody with some life experience to build a life with if you're already in your mid-30s. That part was crazy to me because it doesn't match the values. It doesn't match the values that they teach. And again, that's the part that I'm bringing the question to. If they're living like that, casually dating in a space where they're always professing marriage and long-term relationships and family, that just felt incongruent to me. So I'm like, these two guys feel off in my perspective. So I'm like, but again, I figured out what my issue was during the conversation. It's the do as I say, not as I do model. So I'm settled on that, but I wanted to bring that out. But what do y'all think, Yellow? What you think as we move on from that part of the conversation? It ain't new. It ain't new.
No, it definitely ain't. It definitely ain't new. Yeah, they can say that because they know people gonna listen to them regardless of what they say. You know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty sure he was trying to say something. He definitely used the wrong verbiage though. Because if he wants some impressionable, my nigga, I had to look it up too because I wanted to get. I knew what it meant, but like I wanted to get there. And when you see like Breeze coming up here, let me see this real quick. Easily influenced because of lack of critical ability. Yeah, right. That's taking advantage of somebody. That's crazy. Yes, sir. That's taking advantage of somebody. You know what I'm saying? So but again, that's where the messaging has become watered down and exhausted at this point, because you also can't tell men as women that you want men who have more, like you can't tell them that you want older men, that you want men with more life experience, men that can teach me something, men that can lead me. It's certain things said. That's why I say it's feeding into a chain of confusion and misinformation. Because he is 34. He was 33 at the time. That's still kind of young. You just understanding the inner workings of being 30 at that point. You know what I'm saying? You just starting to grasp how 30 work by 33, my nigga. You know what I'm saying? You still got a little stench of 20 something on. You know, so he's been influenced to say some shit like that.
Yeah.
And knowing somebody from this space, or knowing the ideals of somebody from this space, it's probably an idea that was built off a response that he heard from somebody else saying something, and now this is his way of comebacking intelligently. Well, if they want leaders and they want somebody who got more experience, then I'll just get a younger woman. Well, no, because see, I make certain movie references, I use certain lines, and if you can't understand that, you know what I'm saying, I can't have you around me. We can't have no conversation. If I can't make certain references to certain shit, movies, TV shows, life occurrences, you know what I'm saying? That type of shit.
Oh yeah, culture.
Right. So I get that he sound crazy, but then, like I said, there's not a clear definition on what's being said on the other side, because his wants of a younger woman also falls in line with women wanting older men. Like you said, we watch a lot of Kendra G. We hear a lot of women talk. They want men older. They don't. Even we lived that experience. The chicks our age barely dated us. That's why a lot of us start off with cougar experience. You know what I'm saying? A lot of.
I hear you. I hear what you're saying. But I'm bringing up him not in relationship to that exact gender dynamic, but in relationship to who's actually giving the information. So I get that there's a dynamic If there's an older dude looking for a younger woman, there's a younger woman looking for an older dude. I get that. I totally get that. My issue with him is his incongruence, because he said one thing, he wants a woman that's impressionable. He said it multiple times on multiple platforms that he wants a young, impressionable woman, which is okay if that's what you want. But then he also says he wants somebody that he hasn't reached a level of finances to be able to afford the type of woman that he wants. What kind of woman are you trying to buy?
I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, like he doesn't have the level of finances for the type. Yeah, and it was in the second clip. Let me play the second one again.
I missed it. Yeah, I so missed it. I'm my bad, bro.
No, you good. You good. It's like a minute clip. It's a minute clip. We good. Because she asked, "Why do you think you're single?"
Oh, I missed it.
It's gonna be more open to new things.
Hold up.
Argued that actually dating experience.
It might have been the first.
But why do you think you haven't found her?
So to be honest with you, right now it's financial capacity. There's a woman that I want to meet that I am not able to access because of finance.
Can it be argued that since you know you...
So he wants somebody that he needs more money for. He needs more money for somebody. And they also have to be impressionable. What does that sound like to you?
Me?
That sound like Fresh to me. That sound like Fresh and the Asian. That's what that sound like.
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of things. I'm trying not to go blame me, but it sounds like a lot of things.
Hey, man, say what you want to say, man.
No, for the sake of conversation, it sounds weird, right? To have the understanding that not only do I feel, because I can understand that notion in a sense, right? Not feeling financially secure to be in a relationship, you know what I'm saying, to have a woman around, because for lack of liking it or not, it take money to be in a relationship with a woman. A little bit. You ain't gotta be rich. You have to have some, right? If for any other reason is that you're bringing another person into your life, and that's going to cost more money. Right. She don't even have to be that type of woman, right? She's just another human being with expenses, period. Right? But to add the age kind of thing on it, and to add the lack of life experience onto that, it sounds like you trying to get you one of these young chicks that's really only gonna be impressed by your money and not your message. Pretty much do whatever you want to do. Yeah. So Ooh, that does sound. Yeah, that does.
Sound weird. Weird. Because she's young and impressionable. Why do you need such a high amount of money? Because you know he got some money. He had businesses before they did the podcast. Like he's got decent money. So he's talking about a certain level of money. He's talking about a certain level of money. So he's looking for a certain type of woman that's both impressionable and impressionable towards money. Like he's looking for a fresh and fit type. He's looking for them IG baddies.
Right. Now, to be fair,
I'm not saying that's a problem. But like
No. That's what I'm saying. It's weird.
That Faith and Family podcast is kind of weird.
No, it's weird to think that's the case. It's just that if we took a step back, that's the requirement from the other side. I'm not trying to be like whataboutism, but it's like this is ultimately
that's the messaging.
Right. This is ultimately the messenger, right?
Yeah.
It's ultimately the messenger.
I get that.
Because we also hear women say how they are more impressionable to a man with money. How if a man is financially stable, or if a man is able to create a certain environment, then they will tap into this feminine energy that they got. Then they're more submissive. Then they're more agreeable. Then they so you see him and you understand the nature of what could be behind that, but then you have to understand that the message he's receiving all the way around.
Oh yeah,
because he's sitting here and I'm sitting there like, I mean, I personally like women with a little bit of life experience, but if I clean up what he say a little bit, I mean, it would be nice to have women with less trauma.
Yeah, less trauma,
And
not
unfortunately,
jaded, not bitter,
mhm,
not
mhm.
secretly misandrous. Like I really just hate men, but I like sex.
Right,
Like, you know what I'm
right,
saying? I get you. I'm with
right.
you. I understand everything you're saying. But again, in the context of a faith and family style podcast, like what you're
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
I don't have a problem. Everything you say, I want a young, impressionable baddie that I gotta blow a bag on. Got no problem. But then it's like, hey, come listen to Pastor Tim Ross. Come listen to Pastor TD Jakes. Come listen to Pastor Joel Osteen. And we're going to talk about how to have a healthy marriage. Like
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Like then we're, that's what I'm talking about. That's where it starts getting weird for me.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. That is true. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
but you, hey, I know we ain't got to the religious conversations yet, but
What's up, hit me?
that's kind of the archetype of most religious relationships.
I mean, I'm not against it. Again, there's something me and Bree been hitting at this, because there are some hidden messaging that underpins religious indoctrination. There are things like I've been talking about power dynamics. Power dynamics lay invisible to most people. They think they're having an argument about one thing and they're not. As a matter of fact, we can get into that. That's one of the things I was going to talk about. Conditional femininity is bullshit. So here's the thing. The power dynamics between men and women. So let's get into that because we kind of laid into it. We can talk about the masculinity of men and leadership last, but this next one, I'm going to bring it to this clip because let me just pull it up. Because this was one of the ladies. She was talking about, they were talking about power in this another Hardly Initiated podcast, not the exact same one. This one had a couple on. And they talked about the dichotomy of what women kind of say they want and then what they also kind of have an aversion to, because there are things that we kind of feel but don't know how to say or express. Women will ask for a certain type of man to show up in their life, but that certain type of man carries his energy a certain type of way, and they typically also kind of like get afraid of that. So I'm gonna play this clip real quick.
In our marriage, I made more money than my husband. Actually, probably for about two or 3 years. 2 years in our marriage, I made more money than him. And I knew that I was not the person that was great with money. I knew that.
No, that's the wrong clip.
At first I tried.
Wrong clip. Sorry.
Wrong.
And see, here's the thing. Conditional softness is a real thing that people do, but it's also bullshit. Like both things are true. People really do that. But that's because they haven't, that softness, that femininity is not a part of their character. That softness and femininity is a part of their performance. That's why it's conditional. I'll perform if you pay me. That's an act. That's why it's real. People really do perform, but it's bullshit because it's an act. It's performance. It's not who they are. And people are looking for authentic people who, yeah. So I'm just saying like this. That's why people get confused, because we say stuff like, you like what Yellow was saying. That's the problem with this language and this discourse on these online spaces. People will say stuff like femininity if he comes a certain way, and people will think that's really who you are, but it's not. It's a performance. Yeah, let me find the right clip. Give me a second. I thought I had these marked. Yeah. I mean, mask up. Yeah, that's what people are doing. And then we end up right back here. Power, boom. Is that the right one? I think I did these out of order. I might have done these out of order. Let's check. Let's see. Let's see if I did this right.
Power is sexy.
Power is, right. First of all, I put that on a shirt. All right? Because it is. But a lot of the ladies have also been on the other side of power, when power has been misused or used against them. Exactly. And now they got this weird relationship with power. It's toxic because they turned on by it and scared of it all at the same time.
Definitely.
Exactly.
It's a very toxic relationship. What do you say to a woman that has a relationship like that with, or fears associated with a man's power?
Well, I mean, we kind of talked through this when we were writing the book. And one of the things I think that has a lot to do with is kind of where you are in your family dynamic, like where how do you feel about men in power? How was your relationship with men in power?
What's your
And
relationship to power?
yeah, what your relationship is to power, and you have to be honest about that relationship, be it from a past relationship, be it with your father, be it with a man of authority, that a person that you work with. All of those dynamics causes triggers within inside of you when you are desiring a relationship, and you bring those things that may not have anything to do with the person that you're in a relationship with, that you don't give them the opportunity to prove themselves, because you're making them pay for something. You're making them pay for your father, you're making them pay for your last relationship, and you making them pay for the person that was over you or whatever. And I
just want to pause right there real quick, man. Shout out to Harris Tribe Media Group, man, for the cash app. Definitely appreciate you. It's just one of those things, like when Yellow was talking, people are seeking out a beneficial power dynamic, something that makes them feel good, something where they feel the dynamic that they're most comfortable with, that they enjoy the most. Their power dynamics, whether that's being submissive or being dominant, they may not use that language. But when they, like a woman's talking about, I want to be in charge, I'm a boss, that's a dominant energy. A lot of people want to call it masculine, but I don't like that gendering. Some people want to be dominant. I don't think there's anything wrong with somebody that's more dominant, more aggressive, more assertive, more forceful. I don't mind that in a woman if the guy wants to fall back. But we have to understand that these dynamics come out. Some people are more dominant. Some people are more passive or fall back or casual, whatever you want to, whatever words you want to, whatever, however you want to label it. I think we all kind of understand the energy of somebody that's more forthcoming and somebody that falls back. I think we understand that dynamic of a yin and yang, somebody that's more vocal, somebody that's quiet, somebody that's more extroverted, somebody that's more introverted. Like there's a push and pull in relationships. Somebody's more equipped to lead, somebody likes to see how things play out and they'll observe. We have those dynamics. We learn those in our childhood. We call them attachment styles in therapy speak, attachment styles. You learn how to interface with power as a child. Those dynamics follow you into your adulthood. The dynamics that you're used to, comfortable with, that you even crave. I crave like they talk about father daddy issues. That's a craving for a certain type of dynamic with the masculine. Mother wound. Those are dynamics that you had with the feminine aspect. We bring those into our adult relationships, whether we know it or not. So power dynamics need to be more readily understood and recognized, and that's what she's talking about. A lot of my issue, anybody that listened to me before I kind of took a break a little bit, listened to me, heard me talking about women. And my issue with women in these online spaces is they were, what she said, they were asking for things that they also rejected at the same time. How are you asking for a guy to show up a certain way? I want a guy that can teach me something. He's got to make more money. He's got to da-da-da. He's got to. Well, of course, then he's probably going to be more dominant because he's been dominant in life. He's dominating life. He's got money. He's got success. He's got status. He's got a great personality. He's well developed and groomed himself. He's dominant as far as all the zones of life. And you're like, well, he gets with me and then he's dominant. What did you think was going to happen? You can't be scared of that because that's what you're asking for. You're asking for a dominant person, somebody who takes charge. He can walk into a room and take command. What do you think is going to happen when he walks into the room with you? That he was going to lay at your feet? That's stupid because we don't think too far ahead. We don't think at all a lot of times. But that's what I was really getting frustrated when I heard women talk about relationships. It's like you're complaining about the exact same thing you're asking for, which doesn't make a lot of sense. It's pseudo schizophrenic. But then you hear the men asking for the exact same things. We want these family-oriented women, but I have to be able to afford a high-priced woman that's impressionable. Probably not going to be a family woman. It's probably not going to be your fit. Excuse me, like Fresh and Fit. You don't want these hoes. I don't want these thoughts, these 304s. These women are out here on OnlyFans. What do? You go get an OnlyFans looking chick and you get her pregnant. What's going to happen? It's not going to work out for you. So we have these problems understanding power dynamics. The ones we're pursuing and the ones we think we want, they're different. And I think we need to acknowledge that.
I think you have to do some real soul searching about what has affected you, because that's real. I'm not diminishing that whatsoever, because when I got in a relationship with my husband, I loved him. I thought he was extremely smart. I thought he had a lot of strength until I had to deal with that strength, until I had to deal with that power. And then I had to ask myself, why am I treating him this way? Why the very thing that I desired is now the very thing that I can't stand? Why am I retreating? Why am I like, why are you talking to me like that? And he's like, what do you mean? What am I talking to you like? I'm not talking to you like nothing. But then I had to get inside of myself and say, where is that coming from? So that I can get healed, so I can be in the relationship that I desire to be, because I almost messed up the best thing that could have happened in my life because of my past. So I think we have to make a decision in our lives as women. What do we want? Do we want a relationship that is with this man that's going to be powerful? And with that is going to come some things that's going to rub us a little differently. And when we have to question ourselves and ask us what is triggering us right now, is it him or is it my past? And if it's your past, then you have to get healed from that past, because you're about to make somebody pay for something that they did not do.
It's interesting how people want that. People want that power relationship until
against your power.
Right. And then it's interesting because they're attracted to the powerful person, but then they'll play in the relationship with the person that they're over, right? Ladies particularly can do that. And then when they get tired of making all the decisions and making all the money and planning all the vacations and planning all the dates, it was cute at first, but there comes a point, because a woman wants to fall back. She is not that she can't, she wants to fall back at some time. And when she gets sick and tired of, I gotta plan every trip, I gotta do everything, I gotta cook, I gotta go get the money and cook the meal, I gotta pay all the bills in the house and keep it clean. Like it might be attractive at first because he's giving you something. But at some point, you're gonna be like, yo, at some point, I want to give away this power. It ain't that I can't pump my gas. It's that I don't want to pump the gas no more. It ain't that I can't go out here and kill it. I've been killing it all my life. And at some point, can I have a man that will not abuse his authority and abuse his power, but empower me by being empowered? And at the end of the day, ladies, don't let your abuse of power make you fall out of love with your need to be in a relationship without a power struggle. Somebody abused their power. I'm sorry they abused your power. I'm sorry somebody hurt you. They was wrong. They didn't know how to use it. But their ability to manage power and use it properly in the context of a relationship is the thing that is most beneficial. Don't check out because somebody didn't know what to do with you or how to handle it.
As a matter of
yeah, like that. What's up, Hanifa? So yeah, I know you said you back, and I thought that was interesting because you talked about the power dynamics of like a younger woman, older man. And like, we can't pretend like all these older dudes looking for these young women because they want control, but then these younger women look for older dudes. So how do you see and perceive power dynamics in relationships, or even if you wanted to keep it to the older man, younger woman, or flip that, the Drea and these kids, or that Brittany Renner and these kids? How do you want to see it? How do you want to address that? I'll put the ball in your court.
I enjoy the conversation of power dynamics in relationships. Mm-hmm. There's something about being hyper focused on it and doing it at the same time that just bothers me. I don't know if that makes sense, right? But it should be like something that's seen and not heard.
Okay.
Like a power dynamic. Yeah, go ahead. My bad.
I'm about to say it should be demonstrated.
Yeah.
But like, most of us, 80% of us don't have families where we get to see it demonstrated in the household.
I mean, but a lot of us now ain't even getting our desired relationship power dynamic from what we grew up watching.
Right, but what we grew up watching was broken.
No, I'm saying, but so that's what I'm saying. People want something different, right? So say you grew up in a broken household. What you want is different because you've seen it was broken. Even if you grew up in a not broken household, people are finding ways not to want what they seen growing up because there's got to be something wrong with it.
Okay.
People are rebelling. People rebel against their household, whether it's good or bad. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of this thing where we've discussed power dynamics and we've broken it down so much that now people are trying to curate specific instances of power dynamics. It's like now we want the power dynamic to benefit us on every level. Power dynamics ain't supposed to benefit you all the way around. You know what I'm saying? So that's going back to it's supposed to, I want the power dynamic to make me feel good. That's why it's like they don't want the leadership, but they want to be able to fall back. That I'm not gonna lie. When they started talking like that, I was ready to check out because that's the type of conversation that has put us where we're at. You're telling people that women want to check out or women want to give up that power. They want to be able to fall back in a relationship. Well, that's giving a lot of different feelings about that power dynamic.
Explain.
So if you take the idea of them saying, well, women want to fall back. Let's see how that lands on a few different type of people, right? How that lands on a woman might be, well, yeah, because I don't want to be able to do nothing. He needs to be able to do it all. I shouldn't have to worry about nothing. He got to be able to just take over. Soft life, this, that, and the other. For a dude, that could be, oh, well, that's fine. If she want to just, if women naturally just want to fall back, then as a man, I need to be in control of everything.
Okay.
I need to be able to take care of it, and then if you saying that to somebody like me, I'm not trying to hear no grown ass woman talk about she ready to step back from simple ass responsibilities like planning somewhere to go. That in itself seems dumb.
Okay.
Because we also tell folks don't offload on the people in relationships. Healthy relationships isn't where you offload on the people, where you offload responsibilities and you offload. But then we're saying, oh yeah, women really just naturally want to fall back and let the man lead. But then we say that the man shouldn't Oh my God. Oh man.
Absolutely. It's contradictory messaging. That's what I was talking about when I'm saying women are asking the women online. When women come online in these relationship and gender spaces, I want to couch it. I want to couch it because people don't use the same verbiage offline. Like, so we think people aren't talking about these things in real life, but I've seen it. They just use a different verbiage. But what people are asking for is in direct contradiction. So you'll ask for somebody I use the working people I know, the working women I know. Oh man, I would be so thankful if I had a guy come in to take some of these bills off my plate. But if somebody comes in and takes some of these bills off your plate, they're going to expect you probably to make a plate or for you to take something off of theirs in return. Like, man, I'm out here, I'm paying some of these bills. Well, you're going to maybe do some of this other stuff. Like, there's going to be an exchange. Like, I really think some people don't understand that if you're going to get something from somebody else, be able to offload onto them, there's going to be something they expect. If it's going to be, I think that's the fault in the messaging is I can fully offload. Somebody's going to give me a completely soft life and I don't have to do anything to earn it. There's nothing I have to do other than to stay cute or stay pretty. And I think listening to those people is a problem for, I guess, the listener. Like listening to the young girls on like the young impressionable people on Fresh and Fit or the whatever podcast or the young people that sound silly like that. I just want somebody to come in and take care of me. And I'm just going to, it's expensive to go on dates because I got to pay for this makeup and he should pay for everything because I got to buy makeup. Those people, we should automatically just not even listen to because those are the goofy people. Like they don't have a basis in live reality and relationships. But I think there are people like old boy that's looking for somebody that's young and impressionable, who's looking for somebody he can afford. I think he might be looking for that because of the messaging. I think that's what you were saying. Mm-hmm. When I want to come here, I want a soft life. I want somebody to come in and take care of everything. That's where you get that Ryan guy from the Hardly Initiated. Right. Because he's hearing that. He's trying to live up to it. I can accept that. But I think as listeners, we need to learn to be able to tune certain types of messaging out because we know it's low frequency, because we know it's low information, because we know it's low experience information. Like, I think that's on us to focus on the 80% examples as opposed to the 20% or the 10%. Like I think that's That's a difference of opinion I've had with a few people, especially when they talk about women. They be like, oh, women, most women, what do they talk about? How many women leave marriages? That would always annoy me, because they also will say 75% of women won't even get married in their lifetime. So if we're talking about the 80% of women that will file for divorce inside of 25% of marriages across all women, we're talking about like 17% of the female population, and making a big talking point out of it. Like mathematically, that's the least of our concern. So like that's you know what I'm saying? Like that's where I be on that. But I get what you're saying. The conversation when women are asking for you to come and take everything off my plate creates the incentive for Ryan from HI, from Harley Initiated.
It incentivizes men to gain enough power and influence where they can convince you or make you feel comfortable enough that living that life is possible. But then we end up mad at men like Diddy, who use their power to get what they want and influence people to do the things that they want to do. So where's the power good and where's the power evil? It's the same thing. They all fall from the same power tree.
Yeah, that's something we need to probably unpack as well, because people's pursuit of power, people's pursuit of things that come from power, I don't think everybody understands. Like, and that lady spoke to that. What's up, Quantum, in the building? And that lady spoke to that. You want the things that power provides, but you don't want the negative aspects of it. The things, like you said, are unfavorable. Everybody wants the things that feel good. Like Reckless Ray is saying, they want all the benefits, but they don't want to pay any of the costs. And unfortunately, not all people that say are successful are good individuals. So if you chase power, you might run into a good, powerful person or a bad, powerful person. And that spectrum probably shifts as you get power. The positive, a good, power person may not be what we conceive of on the ground level as a good person at all. Because to get that much power, I'm sure they had to do a lot of mess.
Oh yeah,
intent of a wielder and consent of the submissive is the difference.
Yeah, and then the idea of okay.
Go ahead, Diddy. Go ahead.
This is a shot at both sides, men and
take
women.
Take that.
But the idea of what black male power should look like is absolute power. Power over self, power over money, power over how you move, power over your establishment, power over every aspect of your life. But we are fools to think that the concept of absolute power corrupts absolutely won't count if our melanin count is a little higher than everybody else. How do we think that's going to be not going to fall on us?
Yeah.
So if we're telling the people listening that the only power that a black man can have that is respected is absolute power, then that's what you're gonna get. I'm not saying like this is women's messaging to men. This is men's messaging to men.
Yeah.
This is men's messaging to men. You know what I'm saying? Right, Bree? Everything's always so extreme. And that's what take me out of these conversations over here too. Everything is always so extreme. It's the worst case scenario for any example. You know what I'm saying? And it's also this need, this absolute power, this disconnect from any authority. Well, that's not gonna happen, man. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That's not gonna happen. That's impossible. Because that really don't happen for nobody. Everybody's under some type of authority.
So I'm with you on the power thing. That's why I think power dynamics is something we need to kind of more readily understand, because there are negative sides, negative aspects to power. We've seen it like recently, like people like Brother Polite. Who's that one preacher? The guy Whitehead, Larry Whitehead. Was it Nature Boy? There's a billion preachers, and don't get me started on youth pastors. and we talk about the Catholic Church, people that have power over other human beings, it's a precarious position to put yourself in. You're kind of like leading yourself in to be preyed upon, not P-R-A-Y, but you're putting yourself in position because a lot of people are giving up power in these relationships. I'm looking for a leader, somebody to tell me how to think, how to feel, how I should live my life, what my philosophy should be. That's a level of power. Certain people are drawn like the magnetism. Some people are pulled towards that kind of power. It's seductive to some people. Other people just fall victim to it because they're vulnerable. Like, so I think there's a level of understanding that we need to have, that power is neither good or bad. Power is just what it is. But people, the person like Bree's talking about, the intent of the wielder, the person that has power, you need to know what their motivations are. What do they want? And we don't, like we were talking about the curation. We were talking about, man, who's the messenger? That's the position of power. Yeah, the influencer. That's a position of power. The person that's speaking into your mind. That's important. So who you're allowing to speak into your life, to have sway over your life. When we go back to that thing with the Nickelodeon, when the father got pushed out of the way and the mom kind of let her son go with that dude that was trying to groom her son, like there's people in people's lives that if they have influence, that if they have access, if they have negative intent, they're gonna be predators. And we have to know that that's something that power can do. And if we're not aware, if we're not paying attention, if we're being lazy, if we're not curating the people in our lives, the people that we listen to, the people that we give our time to, the people that we let handle our children, that's when everybody says choose better. That choose better is not just for dating, that's for every relationship in your life. So I think that's something that we get really lazy thinking that people should be able to come in and out of our lives and we should expect them to just move with our best interest at heart. But that's not the way people are. Human nature is undefeated. Right. And I think that's one of the things we keep trying to let slip by the wayside, is that we have to, the cost of freedom is like eternal vigilance. I can't remember who started it. The cost of freedom is eternal vigilance. If you want to be a free person, you always have to pay attention for threats to your freedom. Like that's the cost of having freedom, is attention. Right. And if you don't want to pay attention because we're lazy, we like to give our attention over freely and cheaply for entertainment, our freedom gets stripped from us by people that know more competently how to arrest it and what to do with it and how to monetize it. Like there are people with power that can wield our attention more effectively than we wield it ourselves. Thomas Jefferson, okay. We got to be more attentive, and that's on us. Like that's an us problem. We get lazy, and somebody's going to take advantage every single time. Why wouldn't they? Every time you get caught slipping, we call it getting caught slipping, but somebody's there to slip you up. Like they're going to trip you up on purpose. It's like we got to be more attentive. So when that power dynamic stuff, we got to be more tuned in. And I think a lot of us, I won't say, I hate to say as Black people, but I say we don't have a mechanism for teaching and understanding power and how it operates in relationships, not just romantic, but in all the domains of our life. Because I think that's some of the things that we come up against, whether it's education, whether it's religion, actual sexual romantic relationships, whether it's finance. We don't have a healthy employment. We don't have a healthy relationship to power and understanding what it means. That's why so many of us end up anti-authoritarian. If we talk about our Blackness, we end up anti-authoritarian. If it's in relationship, that rebellion and problems with submission, we end up coming kids, rebellion, defiance. We run across problems with accepting, controlling, maintaining power, and not abusing it at every level of our life. So I just see that as a theme that we need to pick up on. That it's earlier you said we'll learn from something from somebody and go somebody somewhere else to learn something different. But I think we need transferable skills. And I think power is like a keystone. If we understand how power operates, it's something that can affect something in every area of our life. Not like throwing a football from Tom Brady, but if we learn work ethic from Tom Brady, it can affect not just our football game, but it can affect if we play soccer, if we're cooking, if we're working, if we're in service oriented to the community. I think there are some skills that are transferable, and understanding power dynamics is one of those things we need to be more tapped in on.
Yeah.
As far as power dynamics in the relationship, I'm gonna bring this next part because this is gonna talk about the men specifically.
For a man, what is power in relationships? So I've identified, and I've discussed this with
Hey, tell me
Tyshawn.
if you
So we
agree
came
with
upon
this.
agreement with the top 4 was based off our research. Okay, so these are 4 things that might influence a man's perception of having power in the relationship. So before you actually respond, Jamal, I actually want to get Erica's feedback on this to make sure that this actually makes sense and to see if some kind of level of agreement on this. Okay, so this is what I found. These are the top 4. 1 is decision-making authority, okay? Men perceive power as having the primary authority over decision-making within the relationship, such as financial decisions, major life choices, or day-to-day activities, okay?
You agree with that? You think that's one?
In a way, I would probably rephrase it, but that's just how I would think. I would look at it as more of the ability to delegate.
Okay.
I don't think I hope. Yeah. I hope that's not one of the reasons. Like, I hope that's you know what I'm saying. I hope that's not one of the reasons. But delegation seems like that's kind of what that falls more under, the power to make the decision to make a decision, or the power to give decision making away, because that in itself is the real power, right?
Yeah.
I believe that's kind of where the real power lies.
Yeah.
So
I agree with you, because because a single man still makes a decision. He makes all his decisions single,
right?
And people
right,
wouldn't
right.
say he has power. I think you're right. If you make a decision that influences the decisions of everybody underneath you, that's where power comes from.
Mm-hmm.
There's personal power, but then there's, I think they're looking for relational power, and you can't have power inside of a relationship unless your decisions influence other people's decisions. So I think you're right about that.
Right.
Or I can see your point at least. Any man who thinks they are making the decisions in the relationship is just unaware they are being played. I disagree, Greg. Disagree.
Number 2, financial independence. Financial stability and independence are sources of power for men in relationships. Being the primary breadwinner may contribute to a sense of control in the relationship. Okay.
Now, reason I'm gonna say that's important because of our society. Our society has heavy emphasis on finances, on capital. So I think right now there's a supreme, more so than character, is your capital. I don't think right now in the general conversation, especially in the online space, most people are looking for somebody who can either compliment them. We want to be able to do same things. Like if I want to go on vacation, they can pick up their part. So everybody kind of wants somebody on their socioeconomic level. I think most people look for that or better. I think a lot of women, I'll say for sure, look for that kind of power in a man. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong or right about that. I'm just saying I think that's a very consistent, and I've heard that for 20 something years, and there were songs before I was born. So I mean, you know, it is what it is.
And the question is basically the main 4 things that are perceived as power. Right? Yeah, this ain't even a definitive kind of deal from them where they're saying these are the 4 things. They're like, well, these are the top 4 things that people may perceive as power. And 100%. I was damn near finna be like, you ain't even got to pause it on that one. You know what I'm saying? Shit. If we talking about a man in a relationship status, yeah. What up, Bray? What up, twin?
Bray.
Hey, can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, we hear you. Yep.
Y'all.
You are coming through.
Okay. I ain't got nothing to say about that first one.
All right, cool. It's true as far as the way we've seen relationships set up. Greg, however, there are plenty of men who do actually wear the pants, and the woman is on board with him being here. Okay.
Number 3, respect and authority. This is the perception of respect and authority within the relationship, where one partner is seen as more knowledgeable, competent, or respected than the other partner in certain areas. And number 4.
Now, I do think that plays a part, but I don't think that necessarily has to be the case. I don't think the guy has to be more respected, like publicly, socially, as much. I've seen way too many guys that were almost unrespectable. I don't even. You couldn't respect their choices, but they would still parade these dudes around. So I really don't know on the ground level if that holds as much sway as many people think it does.
I would say it's true.
Yeah, I would kind of say it's
Just
true.
having dealing with men, like I feel like it's not about. It's like in a relationship, like how they want to feel as far as how their partner sees them, and I definitely feel like most men want to feel, because I think he was saying in a relationship, these are like the 4 realms. So like,
okay,
yeah, that's what I was thinking. He was talking about like as far as how they relate to their partner.
Okay, so I was taking it as what the women perceive as power in the man. So you're taking it as how the man feels power.
Yeah, I think he was saying that these are the 4 realms in which, because he was talking about how he was doing his research and stuff, and he was saying like he was trying to figure out through like Chat GPT posts and men stuff what realms 4 things make men feel like
make men feel power. Okay, then in that case, the way I was perceiving it, then respect is definitely big. Respect is definitely big.
It's kind of from both perspectives. You know what I'm saying? It is kind of from the male and female perspective, because you know what I'm saying, contrary to Greg's comment, the only way a man knows he's in power or knows that's what makes him feel like he's in power is because he gets that response.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's this definitive thing where you're like, okay, that hit different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
feel
saying?
like they can tell from your response if you feel like they're the authority in the matter.
Yeah.
Like, I think for men, like when he said in certain realms, because he didn't say across the board, which I thought was good. He did say in some realms, which leaves room that he knows that in some realms he's not. But I do think that they're definitely, for like a lot of men, there are realms in which they want to feel like, okay, if I say this, then you just kind of listen to me because I'm the authority there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you, I was wrong, because what I did, I zoomed out. Mentally, what I was picturing was, can a woman bring a guy around that everybody else respects? And I'm like, in my head, that's why I say, like, I've seen a lot of women parade a guy around that's not respectable. Like, she respects the heck out of him, but nobody else has to. So y'all absolutely right. I don't know why I zoomed out to the broad social level, but I did.
And I don't know if you can. No, real quick, I ain't trying to go back and forth with Greg. I see what you're doing, Greg. Not gonna do it. I am gonna respond to that though. No, it's not the feeling of power. Like where I'm coming from is results based. Like, I ain't trying to be like that, but if you ask the ladies, like, they do different things, they act different, they become different. That's almost where I can agree that the things are natural, right? Because when she naturally wants you to lead, the things that we want and we like ask for as men in the relationship come fucking seamlessly. Like, it just happened without you even thinking about it. You know what I'm saying? All those little things that you want happen. So it's not like they're not doing it or they're doing lip service, even if they back out of it, right? Because I kind of understand what he's saying. They'll rescind all that shit and make it seem like they didn't care the whole time. I never loved you anyway. Fuck you, motherfucker. I was just doing the shit. But they're doing it. And that they're only gonna do that because they feel that way. You know what I'm saying? They're only gonna do it. It might be fleeting. I understand. Feelings are fleeting. Respect is one of them. Respect is fleeting. But I think what he was talking about, I don't know if you can replay it a little bit. He was also talking about like intellect almost. Like knowledge and information and just knowing shit. Like,
ooh, child.
Lord
knows a man want to feel like he just know. Oh my God, yes. And child, sometimes you just gotta let him have it. Cause I don't know, y'all needed to sleep at night, child. Let him have it.
Whatever.
Y'all need it's alright.
It's true.
It is true.
When he start reading out that woman part, y'all gonna be like, I don't understand. I mean, it's just it's one of them things. Like, I don't know why he got to feel like he's that guy when it comes to that thing. But honey, just let him have it.
Yeah, competence is something that we aspire to competence. We like that. Yeah, I went back a little bit. Let me see if I got to the right spot.
Perception of respect and authority within the relationship. And authority. This is the perception of respect and authority within the relationship where one partner is seen as more knowledgeable, competent, or respected than the other partner in certain areas. And number 4.
All right, so yeah, knowledgeable, competent, and respected in certain areas. So yes.
Social influence and status. Social status, reputation, and influence within social circles contribute to a sense of power for men as it may affect perceptions of status, respect, and social standing.
Oh, cool. All right, so that was the end of that.
Yeah, so that's kind of more like the outside, like where you can feel
Yeah, how
a
other
man can
people.
feel empowered outside of his relationship cues and social status.
Yep.
Yeah. And child, these men be struggling, honey. With most of them. Like most of those. It's not their fault, but I can see why. Like when I watched it, I was like, I see why relationships struggling because why a lot of men don't feel empowered, even in their own relationships, because like out of them 4, if he basically the only one that you could really lock down on your own power, well, you could do 2 of them, but most black men, social status and stuff like that, that's already hard for most black people. But you can like that's something you can pursue on your own, right, outside of a relationship. But so the other one is like making a lot of money, which would bring kind of the social status. So those 2, but them other ones, the first one and the third one, that's like the struggle in a lot of relationships. That respect and authority, and I can't remember what the first one exactly was, but whatever that first one was too.
What the fuck was it? Because he didn't use it. He didn't use an example. Fuck, I can't remember what it was.
Boo,
oh, man.
Boo this man.
I look, sir. I indulge in cannabis intake.
Right.
Look, my brain cells are slowly at attack every second of the day. Fuck. He might as well run it back. He might as well run it back.
What was the first one? I know, Deshaun, you don't remember what the first one was? The exact words he used? I can't remember.
No.
For a man, what is power in relationships? So I've identified, and I've discussed this with Tyshawn. So we came upon an agreement with the top 4 was based off our research.
Like decision making.
So these are 4
decision making.
Okay.
It was decision making, and you called it delegation.
Okay.
Yeah. The power to make the decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah, the power to make decisions. Yeah. So, and I was saying that it's probably not the power to make decisions so much as the power to delegate. The power to delegate power is more than the power to make your own decisions, because most people do that on a daily basis.
So now I got questions for the chat. So I'm trying to put these 2 together because it feels like y'all are addressing each other's points, but I'm lost. And I can skip on to the women's one too. Because Greg says it. I'm not saying it's bad, by the way. I'm just saying women know how to get what they want. And Quantum says if women don't know what they want, why would they be leaders? I don't even know where that question came from. I don't know if anybody said anything about leadership. Is that just a random question from the ether? Or is that addressing Greg's question? I'm just curious because I got lost on it. But I'm going to go ahead and bring in the clip with the women because they talked about what power in relationship for women looks like too. That's what Bree came from. So Bree came from.
Yeah, but don't even do that. First of all, before you play this clip, that just like we did, you ain't got to understand it. It's just what it is, okay?
Ooh. It's gonna be like 14 reasons.
It's only gonna be 4.
The 737 ways.
But they are gonna make your skin crawl. So I already know it's gonna get
okay. Yeah, to be completely transparent, like both aspects of male power and like the whole aspect of that's what I'm saying, power dynamic kind of is cringe to me and make my skin crawl a little bit. How people approach it, not the understanding, because I get it.
Yeah, they're
but just
neutral
how people
forces,
approach
right? It don't have to be a bad thing. It's just the way we do power dynamics. It's
Yeah.
still exploitative, like it's
Because the way we've
the
experienced
minimum.
it.
Yeah.
Yep. Just unfortunately for me, the way my chromosomes are set up, it seems like women's level of power just gives me like IBS and
Okay,
Icky
then.
Bra syndrome.
Go take some Pepto Bismol. Keep it
I'll be
pushing.
needing some Pepto, right? Some man, some
You can
Mylanta.
take some Mylanta. Take you some
Man,
Pepto
hold
Bismol.
on, look, I'm gonna take my antacid tablets right now. Look down here. I'm gonna just in case. They take me a couple right now.
I'm not going to address that one, Quantum. I'm gonna just let you carry that one. A woman said it. I ain't have to. All right, let's hear this real quick.
The first one, the first thing that makes women feel power in a relationship, autonomy and independence.
Read that one.
This is associated with having the freedom to make one's own decisions, pursue personal goals, and maintain a sense of independence within the relationship. 2.
Again, so for both people, the first one is decision making. It's decision making.
Yeah, just say it's just the language that they use, like delegation versus the freedom to make a decision, but it's still decision making. How decisions are made in the relationship. Yeah.
Is this in the same show?
I'm listening. Give
Yellow,
me 2
I
minutes. Yeah, I'll
already
be right back.
told you don't do that. I already said it before it came on. Don't do that. No, this is not with the Anton show. This is with the married couple talking about power.
No, right. This is the same episode as the men's list, right?
Yeah, this is the same one. Uh-huh.
Okay, no, this ain't knocking the late. This is my laughed at both sides, right? Like the hypocrisy and the how y'all cancel each other out on the first one. We ain't even got the step one.
I don't know. I don't necessarily look. This is just because of my experience as like with nursing. These words are used like in nurse jargon a lot, like autonomy, and delegation and decision making. They don't cancel each other out. I think that's a fallacy to believe that they cancel each other out. So they both can exist in the same space. Like you can actually be submissive to someone and have autonomy in a role of submission or under the authority of another while they delegate. So like that they can work together. I don't see them as a cancel out. I think the problem is most people are trying, like there are realms and aspects of power in your life and in relationships, and people are fighting for the same one. So you never even get to delegating because y'all fighting over who gets to delegate.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Right. I'm
But
not saying
then once you delegate under delegation, you still have autonomy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but that would be, you would have to accept that you are in, like for instance, with the nurse, like I'm under the doctor, I'm under a provider. So they can give me authority through their authority as a doctor to do things that give me a certain amount of power that I wouldn't have if I wasn't under their authority. So like a doctor can give me their authority to write prescriptions, but even in that delegation, so they may delegate me to write a script, but even under that, I still have certain autonomy as a nurse and I have certain limits. So like autonomy can be exercised under the delegation or under the authority of another. So I don't think they don't discount each other.
No, yeah. I get you. I get you on that. It's just that it's just that kind of conflicts in a give and take, because there's no real authority in the situation. See, like in a relationship situation.
You can have realms of authority in a relationship. I feel like where there's one person who is the authority of the matter, but they may delegate something to you and give you freedom within that space to make decisions independently of them. I mean, I just think it depends on how you're looking at it. Because like I think people hear authority and think like absolute or dictator, which I hate that term. But like people, because it's so
Benevolent
extreme,
dictator.
because it's so extreme in people's mind when they hear power and authority, they automatically just superimpose across all realms. So I think that's what makes it feel like, how can you do that? But I mean, somebody can have the authority, like King in my relation. He has all the financial authority. Like he's the authority because he makes it all. It goes through him. If he wanted to cut me off from his money, he could. So that means he's in a more power position. He's the authority in that position. But he delegates me to handle financial tasks, and I can move freely within that delegation he gives me. But make no mistake, at any moment, he could, like, let's just say technically, he could just cut me off from it. So that is an authoritative space. That doesn't mean he wants to exploit it and like financially abuse me. He's not doing that, but he still is in an authoritative space just by default. So I don't think people see authority. I don't know. I think people, it's an icky word for them.
No, I get you. I get you. Like it's all elements. I was kind of speaking in more of a specific way, right? So if you think about the setup with, say, like your nursing, right? There is a level where the buck stops. There's a person where the buck stops with them. You know what I'm saying? It could be way up, but there's a level where the buck stops with that person, right? And everybody else is kind of under them as far as like how things are operating.
Yeah, like I guess you would be like maybe like a code for like, let's say writing like controlled drugs. Like I can't write those even under their
Right,
authority. Or like if a code happens, they automatically take over. They run the code.
right, right. Right, because even those people have to answer to some, right, because it's some layer of actual authority, because there is a person who is there who will enforce consequences. You know what I'm saying? When there's a relationship like a male female relationship, you don't really. I think I think we was talking about that the other day. It was like
Who enforces, if like almost the same thing with the accountability, like who can
right,
enforce it
right,
if someone over abuses. I think there still exists those things. It's just not as clear cut as a job. But if you
right.
truly have authority, to have authority or power means that you have some type of way to enforce or coerce or control others. So I think if you truly do have power in a realm, then you will find that you do have ways of exacting control. If you don't feel that way, you probably don't have the power in that realm.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. There's no level of absolute power in a relationship. Like there's no level of the buck stops with this person. You know what I'm saying?
It's
Because
a choice.
right, it's all the choice. You know what I'm saying? Every decision has to be beneficial for all parties in some way. Because if it don't, then we talk about hashtag no Diddy. So if the decisions aren't beneficial, if everybody doesn't have the same level of autonomy and authority in a romantic, goddamn, I know why the fuck romantic couldn't pop into my head. I'm saying male, female, romantic, nigga. Damn, that's the word. You know what I'm saying? Into a romantic relationship, it can't be that true level of authority, because there's really no consequence. There's really no reasonable consequence to bad behavior in a relationship other than leaving.
I mean, if you're talking about truly exploiting a person, there can be enforcements of that depending on what is happening. I do think that there are people in relationships who are truly being controlled, coerced. Like you hear things like financial abuse that happens. That can happen to either party. If one person lures all the finances, they can financially abuse a partner. you know, people are physically abusing. You can, I mean, the police can get involved. There are authorities in some realms. There are more emotional abuse realms that those are harder to enforce, I would say, maybe. But I would disagree that there's nothing in, like, there's different realms. So once again, I think if you look at it as different realms of a relationship, financial, spiritual, intellectual, physical, environmental, in each of those realms, I think depending on the power dynamic in there, like there are some concrete ways that there can be enforcement of a power dynamic. Or if it's abused, there can also be enforcement.
I think you're wrong.
Okay,
And you can think that. And you can think that.
I don't think that. I don't think they're just quiet.
And that's okay.
I
Right.
don't think
I was
that.
waiting on Rashawn to play the video.
Nah, I'm actually gonna respond to a couple of chat questions because there's a question from the chat. Do they just want to talking about the autonomy and decision making? Do they just want to maintain their individuality while being in a relationship? What do y'all think?
For some people, they will say, like, I need to have a sense of myself. I need to know where I start and end, even if I'm in a relationship. I can't lose myself. So some people, it's individuality. So I think individuality is if someone says individuality, yes, they're trying to keep some semblance of the self. I think autonomy is a different thing than necessarily individuality.
Yeah. What about you, Yellow? What you think?
Do they? I can't even see the.
Do they want to maintain their individuality while being in a relationship?
I mean, yeah, and that's okay. I think that's a healthy relationship.
I can agree to that. And like to break it down on just a more complicated level, I think what we need to understand about power dynamics is that as far as individuation, you need to have an identity for yourself. That's what you're bringing into the relationship. So you should have your individuality. You should have that things that you want, that you like, that you prefer, that you indulge in. Those that should be a whole bundle of self over here, and you bring it into the relationship with this other person's bundle of self. And then there's a third circle, which is y'all's combined. But we like to do these things. We don't like these things, but I still like this, and he still doesn't like this. So I think that's how, for me, the dynamics of most relationships should go. Everybody's not cut the same. Some people are, I'm gonna use an inflammatory term. It's not the best term, but I don't have a good term for it. Some people are weak-minded or weak-willed, and this bundle of self falls apart when this other person comes in, and they just become this one bundle. So then there's just one bundle.
Mm-hmm.
It's worse than codependent. It's like because the other person isn't even like some people don't even rely on this other person. They just get absorbed unintentionally. Like I don't want to absorb you. You just fell apart, and I scooped up the pieces. Like, but I get what you're saying. There is a codependent dynamic too.
That's typically what it is, yeah. Because there's interdependent is like when people say, "Oh, well, what's code?" It's interdependent is what you're talking about. We both come in, we have some aspects. We meet here, and then we decide to intermingle here.
Yes.
You know, but what you were describing is actually what codependency is. It's somebody usually with a lack of self. They don't have a sense of self. They get completely absorbed into the other person, and that's how you get that dynamic. So.
And see, for me, codependent is like I'm a visualizer. It's two people who are fractured, and they bring those fractured, and they become codependent. To have one whole, they bring their fractured selves to combine to make one whole. It's like in my visualization, my ABC thing. So like for what I'm talking about, some people just lose cohesion altogether when they enter a relationship and they become everything that they think that other person wants. Like I've seen that happen too. And the other person didn't ask for that. They don't rely upon that. They don't need it. And a lot of times they end up rejecting it because that's not, that's why I say it's not for me in my head when I'm thinking about it. It's not codependent because the other person typically rejects it because they end up calling them like needy, clingy, or they just wanted to, they lose themselves. Everybody don't like that.
With them too. And they still be
some do. Some do.
Some be like two different brands of codependency. I don't think it's one. There's the two fractured people coming together where they kind of just become one person. Either way, if you end up with one circle, you in a codependent dynamic. I mean, you should be a Venn diagram. I mean, but if you end up one circle, you are in a codependent dynamic. There are different ones. So
I can live with that.
So,
I like what Greg
so
said. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, so to use a term that's in the current vernacular now due to the eclipse, you never want a relationship that enters totality, where you're just completely covered up and blocked out by somebody else. All you are is the corona now. All you are is the shiny bit around.
Barely.
It's look, it's barely there, but all you are is the corona at best.
Yeah. Swallowed up.
You don't be swallowed up in totality.
Don't be swallowed up in totality. No. I mean, but a lot of people think that that's what a healthy relationship is. I think a lot of what we were taught was a healthy relationship was a lot of this. So
The go back and watch this is gonna be my best analogy yet, y'all. Y'all buckle up, get ready for this. It's in my brain, and I'm like, damn, this nigga cold. It's in my head, and I'm like, damn, this nigga cold. If y'all watched this is gonna be comparison to what we talking about. If y'all watched the eclipse, any of the coverage, right? Yeah, the corona part was cool, but you know what everybody got excited about? The diamond ring effect. It's just before the eclipse going to into totality that there's a effect that appears to be a diamond ring. And for us humans, what does diamond ring signify? Marriage. If you go into totality, if you if you go into totality, you don't necessarily reach. You pass right past you go just past.
you're supposed to stop right
You're
there.
supposed to stop right there. You're supposed to stop right there. That's just enough coverage.
Little spark.
It's just enough. That's just far enough. That's enough of the moon being great, and that's enough of the sun being great to make this beautiful image of a fucking diamond ring. Matter of fact, it's on damn, please let it ain't no pimp. The eclipse, the cover song, what's the name?
Black Hole Sun?
No, the cover song's thumbnail.
Oh, the cover song.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah. That eclipse on there was a diamond ring effect.
That's beautiful. You so romantic.
Was it? I don't think it was.
What a waste.
Let's see.
What a waste.
Bring it back.
That's why you picked it. You didn't pick a whole corona. You picked the diamond ring. Exactly. You picked the diamond ring. Because
That's
why?
the ring.
The best part of the damn eclipse. Oh, then you see totality and you're like, oh, okay, well, this is nice. This is great. We never got to see. That's the best part.
That little flash.
And it's just that the opportunity to see it is just there. You're going to get it just before totality and just after totality. So there's a sweet spot of how much you can probably be intertwined with somebody that works so beautifully that it creates the diamond ring. Look, man, hey, that's what I do, man.
Some people.
That's what I do, man.
Okay, so I did like what Greg said too. Just treat each other as equals, and when you disagree, have a conversation about who cares more about the outcome. And I wanted to point out that this is one of the problems, and I would say more so, not exclusively. I hate that term. I'm tired of hearing people say it only happens in the Black community. With Black Americans, I believe because of our pseudo Christianese, Christian adjacency, that biblical indoctrination we're not really steeped in. We don't have a deep practice in anymore. Most people are not practicing Christians. We have this, we've borrowed and picked and cherry picked certain philosophies out of it. And one of them is where we're not egalitarian. Because what you're talking about is an egalitarian relationship, which everybody who talks about studies, they say people who are in egalitarian relationships actually report more satisfaction and happiness. But that's not what we're taught. We're taught very traditional ease. I'm gonna call it ease. I'm gonna put ease or ish on everything because again, it's not complete. Because again, a lot of these guys you'll hear on the internet talking about traditional marriages, traditional relationships, like Ryan and Tyshawn, are out here hoeing. So what are we, you know what I'm saying? So it's not real traditionalism. They're not married. They're 30 and 34. That's not traditional. They would have already been married, like they said the past. Jamal Bryant or whatever was talking to him. They're not traditional, but it's traditionalese. We'll keep espousing these principles, but not really live by them. And I'll say that's across the board. Even some of the married ones who talk about traditional relationships, they'll talk about traditional marriages, the traditionalization, like Mr. He said. They'll talk about traditional marriages, but they'll spend most of their time online talking about unmarried women. That's not very traditional. Like traditional men were either out doing something or taking care of their families. There's no traditional affect of being online. Men did not have in the 50s, which is typically where they go back to, did not have some large conversation space where men got together and talked about what women were doing. That's not how traditional men move. I don't know what era this traditionalism comes from, but like Mr. He said, it's traditional adjacent. It's not real traditionalism. It's very traditionalese, and it's on my nerves. But I agree with the egalitarian way. But because people are receiving messaging that that's not the best way or the right way, that women should be automatically falling back. That's why Yella automatically pushed back on that messaging. Women automatically, we all want to fall back. We all want to fall back. But you heard when both of them talked about what power they want, both people wanted decision making. Who's falling back in that case? That's where you need the egalitarianism, because both people want to feel heard, seen, respected. Nobody wants to feel like a nothing in a relationship. What context am I leaving out, Ray? Because I really doubt that I am. And if you're talking about just general context, man, like before you even go into it, like just in case you're I hope you don't do this one thing where the thing I agree with has to be seen in this grand totality where you have to understand every nuance. That's not feasible for a conversation. But let's see what you say. They also more often than not fall into traditional gender roles. So what do you mean? When men and women get to do as they both please, the majority fall in line with traditional roles. Why would they fall into traditional roles? Is it because they've been taught? Again, like I said, the messaging people are receiving is that they were taught traditional adjacent roles. Could that be why they fall back to some of these? If you've heard something all your life and it's reinforced everywhere you go, even into your 30s, 40s, 50s, you go online and people are still giving you traditional ease teachings, but then living very modern, we have a disconnect here. And if we're going to talk about context, we have to understand that that's part of the context too, that people are teaching something continually that they're not living by. That has to be considered in the conversation. So we can say, it's easy to say, yeah, people fall in line with traditional gender roles, but then why are the relationships failing? You'd have to explain to me, if everybody's falling into these traditional relationships, everybody falls back when they have a choice of these traditional roles. Why is everybody online complaining about failed relationships? That doesn't make any sense then. There has to be something wrong with the traditional roles if, one, it fell apart in the first place. Two, everybody that's trying to practice it now can't have a successful relationship. Three, everybody that says they're practicing traditional roles is out here traditionally hoeing. None of this makes sense. So at some point, we have to admit that somebody's lying. Either it's us or it's them. Somebody's lying. So that, for me, there's no context I'm leaving out. I think we have to admit that there's a lie. There's a lie going on. It's being perpetrated. It's a fraud. It's not true. It didn't hold up for them in the traditional times because they're the ones that got the Moynihan report. It's worse now. And we're still teaching traditional values. And it's worse. And it's worse. And they're not living by the things that they're teaching. So that's what else? What is it? What outcomes? What are you talking about? Anyway, I'll move on because I'm not sure if we're looking at the same outcomes. We're looking at the same. Do men don't want the responsibility men have? So you're agreeing with me. I'm not sure what your disagreement is. You would have to outline that. But Yellow's being right back. Yeah. Okay, cool. Yes, I don't think we disagree. I don't think we disagree.
I'm back though.
All right, you're back. Cool.
Yeah.
I don't think we disagree because there's a problem with the traditionalism. We're teaching something, so people are going to try to fall back to what they're taught on, but they're not living it. So if they're not living the principles, them teaching it doesn't mean anything. Yeah, the outcomes are terrible. So what they're teaching is terrible. If they're not able to live it, it's terrible. If they're living it and it has terrible outcomes, it's terrible. Like there's no positive to it. Yeah, there's no positive to it. So we need to switch it up. So let's see what part 2 with the women say. Or did I have another star comment? Let me see. Got the egalitarian comment from Greg, which I agree. People in relationships still fight to the death about things they really. That's what I wanted to say. With the egalitarian model, what people need to get to is getting to this point. If you're in a relationship with somebody you actually care about, if you actually truly care about this person, you'll want to know what they actually like and what matters to them. But most people argue over what the role, like the gender role. Well, I'm supposed to make this decision. I'm supposed to say, and that's what makes you happy is me making a decision because you like to fall back. We hear that messaging and it doesn't work. We've seen the outcomes of it. It's not working. So figure out what's most important. Who cares about it the most? Like, why do you even care? What does it matter? Oh, it's important to you maybe because your grandmother had one of these. You don't want to get rid of it because it reminds you of your grandma. Okay, cool. I don't really care that much. You can have this one. And y'all negotiate. But why does this matter to you? Who wants it more? What are we willing to do? Okay, well, only one of us can win. Only one of us can make this decision. Why should you be the one that makes this decision? Like there should be negotiations. And maybe you decide on a fallback person. At the end of the day, the man is the one that's going to make that decision. Okay, cool. But y'all need to decide on that because obviously decision making is important to both people. It's important to both people because everybody that's been in relationships, the ones that are complaining the most are the ones that felt like they didn't have a say. If you listen to people on the podcast where they're calling in about the relationships, the men where the woman makes all the decisions, he gets run over and then she leaves anyway, like the couple talked about, or it's the women. He just dominating and control. Okay, everybody wants a say. So we got to figure out a way to make that happen. Boom.
Financial stability and contribution.
Now,
economic independence and financial stability are sources of power for women. Having control over one's finances and making meaningful contributions to the household income enhance a sense of autonomy. All right.
Ooh, what you think, Brie?
That was cute. I like the contribution part because
Yeah, that was
like
very specific language.
Because it's not like I don't necessarily want to pay it all, but I want to contribute to it.
Yeah, I just want to feel like I did something. I just want to feel like
I want to contribute to it financially, even if it's on the back end. Because like even for like it may be like, oh, I save money this way, or I coupon, or I do this, and that's another way to financially, make some contribution without going to work and making a check. So I thought that was good language. I think all 4 of them. I mean, they use very good language and they did good research because I think it speaks to. It feels like what women would say.
Yeah, very, very woman-centered language. What I found, though, as far as the mirroring between men and women, in some verbiage, both people feel like if the other person, if I'm not contributing to their life, they don't understand why they're there. Why do you need me? Why do you even want me here if I'm not doing something to contribute? Once they get into a relationship, because I've heard a couple of women that were complaining about their guy not really needing them and he doesn't let them do certain things. It's like, well, what am I supposed to do? They didn't have a role to play. And I think people feel comfortable having a role, even if it's not a traditional role. People need to learn to define roles that work within their dynamic, with what they want, with what they need, with what they are used to. I think people need to learn to communicate. Like Blaze was saying, communication is important. That's how brokies make decisions. If you're not trying to marry appendages, if you have someone function as a counterparty, the best person to make the decision should make them. But that's what I'm saying. That's why people need to have those kind of conversations, because if you don't know, if you just get into a relationship, you don't know who the best person to make a decision is. That comes from conversation and observing how people move and operate. So that's why I'm like, I feel like you're jumping to the next step, but people have to have an evaluation process. And if people are getting into relationships before they've properly evaluated people. So what I'm saying is, to the evaluation process, people need to include, how does this person make decisions? What are they competent in? We have to learn these dimensions of power for self that are going to get applied to a relationship and applied to the broader life and family that come behind that. So, I mean, we can say, yeah, best person to make the decision, but how do you know who the best person to make the decision is if you've never been with the person when they've made that decision? So there's a step we're skipping. We need to evaluate, how do you make smaller associated decisions. How do you handle this in finance? And how do you handle this? We'll talk about this. Well, what would you do in this situation? What did you do when this happened in your life? Have you ever seen da 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 da? How did your family handle it? We have to have conversations. Being right about shit you don't care about is worth nothing for your relationship, for the most part. I make every decision narrative comes from losers. It's a loser scarcity mindset. If you're bad with money, you don't make financial decisions. Bad at planning, you don't manage account. Yeah, yeah. People should lean into their zones of competence. That's one of the dimensions.
But a lot of times they don't even
important.
happen either. Sometimes
A lot of times it does.
Shit just fall on your lap because of those
the roles,
those traditional setups. Like yeah, if a guy feels like he's, you know, a lot of times women do the finances, like pay bills and will do all that stuff. And even if she's not good with money, that's like something I see in a lot of more traditional couples. The man go to work, he make the money, she delegates all. This goes to this, and if she bad with it, half the time they just gonna have bad financial outcomes, because in a lot of traditional men don't necessarily they delegate that task off to the woman a lot of times for whatever reason. So it's sometimes that's happening. Like, it's not really a lot of thought. It's just people fall into something, and instead of it being who's strongest and what, more often than not, it becomes, what do I not want to fucking do? Are they willing to do it? It usually ends up that way. That's usually how it's decided. Like, I just don't like doing it. So if they willing to do it, that's gonna be their task. That's usually how it actually happens.
And to a degree, that happens. Like you said, people fall into it, but there's a certain level of unspoken communication there, because the thing that you don't want to do is the thing that you're going to F up because you don't care about it, or you're going to let it slide because you don't care about it. So it's actually detrimental to let somebody that doesn't enjoy doing something to do the thing, because human nature, like I said, is undefeated. They're going to mess it up.
Most of the time, both people cannot like it. Like, and sometimes there's tasks that neither people want to fucking do it, and it's still not a conversation.
And that's where communication and negotiation.
Right, and that's usually, like, for real in regular relationships, that shit is not happening. Like, without some counseling, marriage counseling, like, most people ain't talking like that. It's just like, I don't want to do this shit. So it's either, well, you the woman, so you do it, or you the man, so you do it. When it's a task that nobody want to do, then
so the dish is in the sink for a week.
Yeah, you start seeing people fall back into models that just benefit their argument. Like, okay, well, traditionally, men take out the trash, so you take it out, you know. Or traditionally, women do the dishes, so I guess we just gonna unspokenly, passively goad her to understand that she's supposed to do the dishes. Like you said, it's unspoken, but it's still happening.
Yeah. And I would say the secondary part of the traditional roles is that there's symbolism attached to it. So when somebody doesn't do the thing that you think they're supposed to do, we associate that with some secondary meaning. So she didn't do the dishes, so she doesn't care about the family or something, as opposed to she just doesn't want to do this task. Like, so typically, it's like shame. Yeah, so there's a secondary, and that often doesn't get communicated either. Oh, well, he didn't, I'm gonna just make up, he didn't hold the door open for me, so he must not value me or something. So there's when these people don't perform what we expect in these roles, a lot of times we attach a secondary meaning, a value set behind it that may not be accurate. Somebody just didn't grow, or we didn't grow up in a family culture. Because I know I had that, I ran into that too. I was at this house party, and this dude, of course, didn't live there, because I knew the family, I knew the group. And this dude just came, the trash was full, he just came, grabbed the trash, tied it up, took it out. I was like, that's interesting. So then, because I saw it and it piqued my interest, I was like, why is he taking out somebody else's trash? I was like, because it was full. And now me, because we don't clean up after other people. If you made that mess, you clean it up. And I'm like, man, I wasn't making no mess. I ain't using a trash can, but he just saw a problem and fixed it. So I learned that anytime after that I saw that, if we had like subsequent parties, if I saw the trash was full, I would just grab it. But I didn't grow up in a culture where even something as small as grabbing the trash was even expected of somebody that wasn't making the trash. Our family, we did not. If you made that mess, you're going to come here and clean it up. Even if we got to call you back in here to come clean it up, you're going to be the one to clean it up. So that's like, so I've learned that people, different family dynamics, we have different cultures and different sets, and things mean different things based on where you come from, what value sets you grew up with. Pseudo Christian, for real Christian, different types of Christianity have different value sets on different things. So that part is important for people to understand too, because we don't give anybody grace. We just automatically assume that the symbolism we have running in our head from our programming is what other people know. So if they didn't do the thing, we know, and we think they know, that means that they don't love us. But that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, them shoulds.
Yeah, them shoulds. Yeah. But I think that's and I'll say too, like if a guy doesn't work as hard as sometimes the woman thinks he should work, well, he must not love his family. He may not attach working to love. He may not want to die on an early grave because of finances. I mean, so there's different meanings for and we don't have those like you said, we don't have those conversations. The secondary attachment that comes with simply not wanting to do a task becomes bigger than what because we associate it with something else. And it's uncommunicated most of the time. So we have to get to the point where like Blaze said, we're communicating. And like Reckless said, we're evaluating. Evaluating and communicating are two big steps in relationships that a lot of people are just not doing. Evaluating and communicating. Like we're not doing
it. 3, assertiveness and boundaries. Power can involve the capacity to assert one's needs and preferences assertively without fear of retaliation or dismissal. This includes setting boundaries, advocating for oneself, and addressing disagreements. All right?
I can see why that's a problem for women. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, give me 1 second, then I'm going to chime in. Let me go back upstairs. I'm trying to turn on Mickey Mouse.
Do you think? Mickey Mouse. But I've heard a lot of women have discussions about not feeling comfortable because of whatever they talk. I don't know what women are talking growing up. I don't know what messages they absorb. I don't absorb them the same way because I'm not a woman. But I've heard on the back end a lot of women who are struggling with being able to speak up for themselves, advocate for themselves, say what it is, what they want. I've seen that so many times in some of the most mundane, inconsequential moments of life. Like you didn't feel like tell me what you wanted to eat. Like you didn't like. Are you kidding me? It'll be the most inconsequential thing. So I know it plays out on bigger things as well. So I'm okay. So you're ready to talk? I need your input because I don't understand it. Yeah. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's that agreeableness thing. I think it's here. Some women are very like agreeable. Some people call it people pleasing. I think a people pleaser would struggle a lot with this. I myself, I'm not a people pleaser. So the only time this kind of comes into play is like, I couldn't, and this isn't to say that only men do this, but this is just like, I think something women are just more preoccupied with the thought of. But like, I couldn't be with somebody who anytime, like, I call them male chauvinist. Like, anytime I say something because I'm a woman, I'm supposed to be quiet. So it's either I get like shady energy back or dismissed or a threat to like leave. You can go. Kind of like, it's like threatening to end the relationship just because I'm like saying how I feel or what I think.
Yeah, just
or
you're human.
Just completely being, or being dismissed because I'm a woman. Even if you don't lash out on me violently, you may just be very dismissive of everything I say and don't really pay attention to it. So that's another way it can happen. Even though I'm not scared to verbalize what I want to say, the reaction I get to saying anything I want to say can apply here.
Yeah. So and see Greg here. Okay, here's the thing. And this is a Rashawn thing. I'm not saying this. This is not all men. This is not all. This is me. I've experienced it for some of the stupidest things, where they feel conflict averse. But when it's something truly important that truly matters, there's no conflict aversion. Like then all of a sudden there's no problem with being assertive, even in the strong and wrong. That's where I always have a problem with this dynamic, because I hear, we're agreeable. We don't want to people pleasing, but not when I want to be pleased. When I actually want to be pleased, it's like there's pushback, and I don't get it. But it's a weird dynamic.
I would say it depends on, that's when you start to say the power dynamic here comes into more. It's like, where does she see herself in standing with the person you're talking about? That's going to come into play with how she reacts to it. Because if the person's in a position of authority or power, even in her mind, let's just say it's not like a clear cut.
Like
Yeah.
she may respond differently depending on if she feels the person is equal, if she feels the person is below, or if she feels the person is above. So that's gonna also determine it, how she responds to it. And then also like there's a risk versus benefit kind of thing. I'm not conflict averse. But once again, if I feel like I'm gonna be dismissed or I don't deal with people who say I'll break up with you or just have really explosive reaction to me just simply saying how I feel. I know I'm antagonistic, but child, you're gonna have to reel it in. So that's one way in which this applies for me from a not people pleasing or agreeableness standpoint. Even though I'm still considered technically highly agreeable, like I'm still like in what 70 something percent. I'm still high, like it's still high agreeableness.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because again, I okay, this is what I'm saying. Okay, I have a better language for it because I get agreeableness. I have a level of agreeableness too. I don't like conflict. I'm conflict averse. So I think why I have an issue with it because I don't feel like there's a consistent value set of women's conflict aversion. That's what I'm putting. And I get what you're saying with power dynamics, but sometimes it's not even a power dynamic. It can be there's no more power. The power has not shifted between who's the decision maker is or who has more money or autonomy or whatever. Even if the value sets are different, same people, same, nobody else is involved. Let's say it's just those two people. Let's say it's the decision to make dinner, and let's say it's the decision of where to send the kids to school. I will see people more more dishonest or not being honest about what they want when it's dinner. And I'm like, that's where there should be no emotional load. And you should feel free to say, well, I want Taco Bell, or I want to go to this actual authentic Mexican.
So
like for me, there's like no load.
So I can understand exactly like so you're saying how like that common trope where it's like women can't tell you what they want to eat or can't decide what they want to eat.
And see, I'm not even trying to put it on a decision. So let's take it away from food because that is a common trope. So let's say what color we want to have for the curtains. And I'm like, I like the blue ones. And instead of saying, well, I like the yellow ones, you say, oh, I really like the blue ones too. And then year 3 or month 3, whatever time frame, I really hate the blue curtains. You said you like the blue curtains. No, I don't. I never said that. I like the yellow ones, but you had me get the blue ones. And it's like, I've run into that multiple times in variations. I can't think of any, again, specifics, but it's like, I've run into that dynamic so many times where it's, I said something to go along in the moment on something completely inconsequential that I would have given up that I wouldn't have cared about. I would have gone with the yellow ones had you wanted to say it. If you wanted the green ones, I would have gone with whatever because it was inconsequential. And that's the time you didn't speak up. But then when it's something consequential, where I would think it would be more loaded, where you'd be more averse to actually conflict because it matters, because let's say it's the kids involved. And I'm like, man, I really want the kids to go to this school. I wanted them to go here for the last, when I knew I was going to have kids, I wanted them to go to this school. I've been saving up for it. I bought some paraphernalia. I'm so invested in them going to this school. And then there's no problem having a complete conflict. And I would think there'd be some hesitation there because somebody's invested so much. But I've seen that the opposite happens and people can have direct. So that's why I'm saying like it doesn't feel consistent as far as the risk aversion, as far as I've experienced it. And it might just be a Rashawn thing. It may not be everybody. As again, when I've experienced that dynamic with women, the inconsequential stuff.
A problem with like the historian. But what I would say in that situation, which is this may not be that, but I know most women feel like the authority on like household decisions, like, oh, decorating, that's something that's usually like openly offloaded or being able, she's kind of the authority. So it's almost like she wanted you to feel like you had, some power in that situation. But then later on, she just like, it came out that she didn't really like it anyway, versus something like deciding where the kids go to school. I think that would be, unless he completely offloads that kind of would automatically be assumed to be a shared decision, I think.
Yeah. Now, what you said, though, I can see it there because I can see that dynamic where I want you to feel like you had a say in this thing because I always make this decision, or I can see that. Because I've heard that spoken in conversation. So that clicks something. That makes some sense. I can see that rationale. I can definitely see that.
And the last one that makes women feel power in a relationship: equality in partnership.
Ooh.
Power is experienced through the cultivation of equitable partnerships where both partners share responsibilities and decision making, fostering a sense of fairness in the relationship.
Okay, so that was the last one there. So fairness and equity. Do you believe that, Brie? The women want equity. They want fairness.
I would say so. It doesn't have to be like I would say in my relationship, we don't have to make every decision together. But I think collectively, when we look back across decisions made, I want to feel like we both kind of equally, make decisions. It doesn't have to be in the same room. Like, I don't want to sit down and talk to you about everything. Like, this, we ain't doing that. But yeah, if across the board, I could say, well, some of this stuff for me, I just want to be able to see you in our life collectively. Like, I don't want to just look around and everything was me. Like, I wanted to live here. I wanted our kids to go here. I wanted this car. Like, I don't want to look around and just everything is me. So.
Yeah, I feel you. Nah, that makes some sense. I just know, man, I just feel like it's a feeling right now. More than I can recall any specific memories. I know for a fact I've so many times said, why didn't you just tell me that's what you wanted? Like, I wish you would have just said something. I know I've said that. I can feel it in my body. I've said that so many times when it's something that does not matter.
I know sometimes, like, if somebody's more passive or they just don't feel a strong way about a lot of things,
I get it.
Yeah, I'm more like, if they do say something, then I kind of sometimes will let them have it because I just know, like, they're pushback averse sometimes. So, like, if I say anything contrary or any little bit of like what they perceive as pushback, they'll just fold. Like, especially if I'm the more dominant person, like I just feel like sometimes if it's a less dominant person, I might just let them have it completely because if I say anything, they'll completely change or forego
and I can see that.
what they want. Yeah,
I can see that. I can see that even in the conversation about power dynamics. I can see that because a lot of times I will concede power, not because I just don't care about a lot. I don't have like heavy investment, like emotional investment in a lot of things. So I can see, because I've had that on panels. I've had that with people thinking that I was weaker than I was because I don't assert, but it's because I just don't have a strong position on so many things. Like, I just don't have a lot of sacred cows. There are not a lot of things that are super important to me. So I can play around with different possibilities. So I don't really care that much. So it's like, but I've seen that play out in different realms of my life. So I absolutely agree with that. I like that. I'm gonna play this from our girl real quick, because this is when I talked about symbolism in relationships. This lady speaks about this quite a bit.
Fight about, it's what you fight for. You were fighting for recognition, you were fighting for power and control, you were fighting for respect, you were fighting for trust and closeness. Underneath the fight, there are usually 3 sets of issues that we are actually fighting for. And that is power, trust, and value.
So I always like Esther's breakdown, because she's always talking about the symbolism of what's behind the things that we're fighting for. So it might be like dinner, drapes.
Yeah.
But there's something behind it. What's the real value behind it? What's the why?
Right.
Why is it?
And I think that trust one she was talking about fits in with that like that authority thing, that respect and authority, because that's like a sign of trust. You know what I mean? Like, if somebody is just like, I completely yield to you, that's like trust. So even then, like in those 4 pillars he talked about, I would say that's kind of what that's speaking to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me see. There was one more after that. Now, before this is a minute 36. I'm gonna play this real quick because I can't remember what. Okay. I know I'm gonna bring this. This is when I was talking about culture. When I talked about the culture that people grow up in. This is not about relationships in the way we're talking about it, but it fits.
There's the thing that I find has to be discussed a lot is culture and family. And what ends up happening when you get into dealing with culture is obviously our cultures are different. You grow up in a different dynamic. So that plays into how you view relationships, how you view conflict resolution, how you view all of that. That's layer 1, culture. But layer two is what I'm finding that's taking place historically. It's almost like they're living in two different dispensations or two different eras. On the one side, you're living in a present space where you say, okay, hey, I want to find somebody who's intellectually on my level. I want to find somebody who's compatible with me, etc. But then society is teaching us to reach back into past anguish, past hate. So you look back and you're able to say, and I know you see it as like a love the fruit, hate. It is, they're just looking back and knowing, I gotta hate this dynamic. But then I walk presently in this dynamic. It's a different space. It's so anyway, counseling through that, talking through that, seeing that, those are my observations as to how this dichotomy exists, where you say, man, I don't like this way back here, or images that I see on TV, but I love what I hear when we talk to each other, or this intellectual space.
And I brought that in because I think that's one of the conflicts that a lot of people are having, because you'll meet somebody, but we've been taught a certain set of values from the culture we grew up in. Well, I'm supposed to look like this. I'm supposed to act like this. My partner, wife or husband, depending, is supposed to behave like this. They're supposed to do certain things, but I enjoy being around this person for who they are as a human being, but I'm trying to superimpose my culture that I grew up with on this person from a totally different set of values and understandings and what things mean to them. So like it's something important that we need to understand, that we're trying to merge these things that are dissimilar, and it causes power conflicts, because something that may be super important to you may actually be profane to somebody else, or it may, because again, when he talked about I have been taught to hate certain things. There are, I say as a man, it's hard for men because we involve ourselves with women a lot of times who have hate patriarchy and the idea of men in power, but also once they get in a relationship and they're attracted to male power. So we have to be on the lookout for things like that, because there's conflictual ideologies that women bring to relationships. And I know men do the same. I just without having to think about it for a second, I just wouldn't know exactly what that looks like. I guess it would be kind of like, oh boy, I pointed out. We want traditional relationships and traditional families, right? But then I'm out here like basically I'm a whoremonger. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, I guess that's a similar way. Like, how are we doing these two things? Something very modern and asking for something very traditional, fresh. Again, same type of thing. No hoes, but you're
or like the housework is often one for a lot. Like a lot of men fall into a traditional, like it's just lazy thinking. I don't think it's a very conscious thought, but a lot of men tend to fall into a very traditional pattern when it comes to like, oh, who's responsible for the house or rearing the kids. Like even if the woman works, like that's one you hear all the time. Like she still work, but then she do still majority of the house and the child rearing. That's like a very traditional thing that a lot of men fall into.
Yeah. Okay, cool. This is the last clip from the power in relationship part, because this is for me what I thought was the solution, and it's been touched on in the chat: the communication, the evaluation, all this stuff. Because this lady self-evaluated. Like we're asking for people, so you get to hear somebody that was on the negative end of interfacing with power who shifted. So I like this clip here.
Marriage, I made more money than my husband. Actually, probably for about two or 3 years. 2 years in our marriage, I made more money than him. And I knew that I was not the person that was great with money. I knew that. And at first I tried to take care of it, and then it just didn't work. And so I basically gave my check because I trusted his leadership in regards to finances, not because I was the woman. But, you know, in some relationships, the woman is the one that's divvying the money and things of that nature. But that was not my strong suit. So I gave it to him, and he decided where everything needed to go. And we talked about our financial goals and what we needed to do and how we needed to pay off certain things or whatever. And, you know, at first I was a little, you know, I'm just being honest. honest and real. I was just like, he was like, I'm gonna give you an allowance. And I was like, what? You about to give me some of my money? What do you mean? Like, and then I had to change my verbiage. It wasn't my money, it was our money that we were putting together, because money grows when it gets together, not when it's separated. And so we knew that that was our purpose and what we were going to do and what we were going to do with the money. We were taught that in premarital counseling of how we were going to deal with the things that were important to us as a couple and how we needed to have a plan to make that happen. And when you have a plan to make that happen and you know who's going to be doing whatever, then there shouldn't be any kind of strife that is within you, because y'all have a plan. There's a bigger picture than just bringing money together. There's different pots that it's going to go into. And so it was, after a while, I didn't even think about it anymore, because I trusted the leadership of my husband, and he let me know where certain things were and things of that nature. Even to this day, he does that exact same thing. But trusting my husband was something. He got me out of debt, that I was in debt for something for like over 12 years. He got me out of debt with it in 3 months, because of his power, his understanding, his gifting in a certain area. And so I would say you don't diminish yourself. You just have a conversation about the difference.
Hey, real quick, I just want to pause on that point. And I mentioned that earlier, like power will make a more effective use out of you than you know how to do. Like somebody, that's how people fall victim to predators, because they know how to exploit. Like that's their talent. They're skilled at exploitation. They'll exploit. She was making a good amount of money. Obviously, she's making a good amount of money. He was able to make better use of it. So like being able, exploitation, like the use, how to employ things, that's a skill. How to employ something, how to get the most out of something, how to extract resources, like that's a skill. And not all of it, you know, that
I think is
employment, because exploiting is like, it wasn't to
it's got a negative connotation. Employee is a better word, but so there's a resource that he was better able to allocate it. Even though she made it, he was better able to allocate. So I think what Reckless Ray was talking about, there are people you can have a competence and you may not make the most, but maybe you can do the most with it. So people need to lean into what their particular skill sets is. That's a great dynamic, and I'm glad that she had pointed that out. But go ahead, Brie, my bad.
Oh, no. I was just saying I like employee better than, because I think when people think power, they automatically go to exploitation, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so much in between there. Like, if giving somebody power can be useful. And I think this is just a situation where I had to tell Keenan, I said, boy, if you don't give me no allowance, all this money be gone. Look, because I be shopping. I ain't going to stop. There's nothing going to stop me except seeing zero. I don't have no more to spend. So you could wait on me to change, or you could, like, you know, limit me. Because I'm just tell you now, I'm not really inclined to change. I'm not really motivated to change, because buying things is fun. So, yeah. Just saying. Give your power away sometimes. I be trying to give away autonomy sometimes. I be trying. He don't be want to take it all the time. I be like, hey, get this autonomy. I don't need it over here, because I be wilding.
Go take this autonomy.
Come get this autonomy. I do not need autonomy in this realm, because I be wilding. Like, I don't know why you think I just need it, you know? So I don't know. Get some of that autonomy away.
Yeah. No, I'm with you.
And who is the best person for it. And I think that conversation when you're dating is acknowledging, this is what I bring to a relationship. What do you bring to a relationship? What are your strengths? What are you passionate about? And then those that kind of lets you kind of know where that person is and really know if you can really build with that person or not.
Yeah, and from my perspective, I mean, that took time. Again, credibility. That was cute the way she said it. It was very, very much a power struggle when I first presented that option to her, but it was no intent to take anything from her. It was, again, to make sure that I was building with her and showing and giving a dynamic to our relationship, because I was taking care of these bills. We could take care of this, and we could save, and we could store, and we could stack. And when it was all said and done, we will have more at the end than we have right now. And so me constantly building that credibility gained that trust. But even in that conversation, to your point, it's about compatibility, right? So everybody isn't compatible with everybody. So you have to find compatibility if so you don't diminish and lose yourself in the relationship because you don't know, because you're with somebody that don't know what to do with you, how to handle you, how to treat you, how to put you in the strongest position, right? For who you are and what you're trying to accomplish. Once that's understood, as you find a partner, a purpose partner, somebody that's walking with you towards a desired outcome and a desired goal, it's not a power struggle, it's a power couple. I'm gonna lend my strengths to this relationship, you lend your strengths to this relationship, and the outcome is that we're stronger and better together. That's the idea.
Nikki, thank you so much for coming up here and asking.
That was
Yeah, so I thought that was and I think that's the best way to handle it.
I wanted to address Greg's comment. I think thinking that women care more about the house being clean is a traditional mindset, which is why it's easier for men to think that women care more about the house being clean. That's like, to me, that just proves the point. When I said that men typically fall into the traditional mindset when it comes to housework, that's probably the lazy thinking that causes them to fall into that mindset, that the woman just inherently cares more about the house being clean. Like, it is not even a consideration of the actual woman in front of you. It's just an assumption that women care about the house being clean, which is a traditional model. That comes from a traditional model, whether you think it does or not. So I just wanted to address it.
And I would counter Bree's point by some things became traditional because they were true. Like some stereotypes are stereotypes because they're true, not because people are assholes. So I do.
Or like she's home all the time, right? Like, I mean, I'm just saying, like, the traditional dynamic created the woman caring about the house. So I'm not disagreeing with you, but that's a traditional, like, so if a woman is no longer in that role, why wouldn't it be understood that it could change, that she doesn't care about the housework? If she's going to work, just like you going to work, she's not home all the time with the kids, y'all home equal amount of time, that probably will change. That it's not like this thing that she cares about more than him because she ain't home all the time in the house. So that's what I'm saying. I think the dynamic does create the mindset. So whether it's because I think the dynamics are a function of the time. So, you know, it had utility at the time for the woman to stay home. And because she was home, then she cared about the house. So I think it's lazy thinking to think that if you're with a woman who is not in that position, just automatically superimpose that she gonna care more about the house. I think it's lazy. Like, it's just
to automatically assume that. Assuming is lazy. Like assuming is lazy. Yeah. So that wasn't my point. So yeah, you're right on that. I'm just saying that I think this is a secular thought, a chicken and the egg type thing. Because for whatever reason, women at some point cared more about the house cleanliness. It's now part of messaging where women reinforce the idea, and men also help reinforce that idea. We accept it as truth and regurgitate it. So now it's messaging, which now reinforces that women care more about housework, which they may or may not now. Now that they have more choice, you're right. They may or may not, because I've seen a lot of y'all's cars. And y'all probably really don't care about cleanliness as much as we think y'all do. It's just there's an idea and messaging that y'all care about housework. So y'all have internalized. I have to keep the house clean. But I think that's like a secular chicken and the egg type thing. That if women are going to break from that thing, like they're just going to have to break from that thing. Like, because right now the messaging has been traditionalized and brought in that women care more about it. And until y'all change y'all's behaviors, which is going to be hard because again, the messaging is reinforcing. The messages are reinforcing.
And then when you don't do it, you go into that thing where you said, where it's like,
shame cycle.
I don't really want to do it. I don't really want to do it. If you don't do it though, I'm going to superimpose all these things about you as to why you don't want to do it. And I'm going to internalize it. And I have all that messaging you're talking about as my confirmation bias that I am right about why you're not wanting to do this thing. You know, so it's not easy to push back. As a woman who don't give a fuck about it, trust and believe. People still don't care. You can say it out loud. I don't want to do this shit. I don't want to do this shit. I don't want to do this shit. People still gonna be like, oh, she want to do it. She want to do it. But my husband cleans better than me. He cleans better than me.
I'm gonna tell you what I think. Only because I was thinking back to a very specific relationship I had. I think the reason that y'all care about how the reason why y'all tend to care more about how the house is clean, there's a secondary reason. Like I was talking about the other stuff, there's a secondary value set. It's not for cleanliness sake. And I think that's where the disconnect between you and Greg is. Y'all don't care about the cleanliness of the house for cleanliness sake. It's for the social aspect. Because you know other people don't want to come over to a dirty house and you might get shamed for it. And because you want company, you want the social aspect, you want people to come over and hang out. That's why you care about it. Not for come like there's no way that I've seen people where the car was like to the hip with stuff and debris and trash. And I'm like, how do you even drive? Like, how does this stuff not fall into the driver's seat? Like, I promise you, I've seen some amazing things that women have done as far as trash in the car. How can I then walk into your place and it's clean? And I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. So like, it's not the cleanliness. It's the fact that nobody else gets in your car. If nobody else ever came to your house, it'd probably be.
And for me, it's simply if I don't do it, it's probably not going to get done because he don't want to do that shit either. But he has more social. He has more social ability to just opt out of it than I do.
Yeah.
He has more room to have, like you said, he has more room to opt out of it in his mind. And also, for me, it's less about the social thing. It's like, also, I can't have my kids in a dirty house because, you know, you can get your kids taken away for an unclean environment, and I don't want them to get
And that's the secondary thing for you.
So that's the secondary thing for me. Yeah. Cleanliness sake, if I was by myself, I'd give my brothers a run for their money. I promise y'all. Like, I grew up with boys. I grew up with brothers. I was a tomboy. I don't give a fuck about cleanliness for cleanliness sake. Like, you know, but my kids and my husband has a low tolerance for like certain things. So I just kind of come up to his level and also for my kids. So it's just become a way of life. But yeah, if somebody wanted to come in and take over, absolutely. I would gladly give it away.
I bet though, like again, just in this like powered, I think this part of the conversation is important. And I don't know a way to just make this an internal thing for people, but I really wish I could just make this happen, even for myself. Being able to figure out that secondary motivation for people's behavior prevents the surprise. Because what happened, the switch up is when the main driver, I was doing a behavior, but the main reason dies off. So now the secondary reason is moot. Or vice versa. Like, so let's say like I was keeping the house clean. Like we was living together. I kept an immaculate house. But then I stopped hanging out with my people. My social circle just dwindled and nobody ever came over. And you're wondering why I quit cleaning. You know what I'm saying? So if we were tapped into people's like secondary motivation, that's the true reason. That's actually the primary motivation is we think it's there. We think cleaning is the reason people do things. Yeah, but the highest order is actually social. And the only reason they're doing the other thing is because of social. So if we figured out, because we think a lot of people switch up, but they're not really switching up. Their life circumstance switched, which they lost their motivation to do the thing.
We get into those fights a lot because as soon as the kids go to my mom's house or something for the weekend, I will not cook.
Yeah,
at all.
Let's see.
At all. I'd be like every man for himself, and that pretty much.
You said you cooked every night. You said you cooked every night.
No, he be so hurt. He be like, "You gonna cook? Boy, what? Why? It's two adults in the house right now."
We got together. You said you cooked all the time, and now the kids are going. You don't ever
that's
cook.
The other thing. Which is why I be like, how we in year 7 and you still shop? Because you know I don't really care for cooking like that. Like, we can go out and eat. When the kids ain't here, we can eat out. Like, I like to, we can get wings or whatever. But it's stuff like breakfast because I'm not going to get up early and I'm not about to cook breakfast if the kid's not there. And so he always be hurt. He'd be like, I want you. I'd be like, just say you want me to make you breakfast. Like, just say that. But I'm not going to just get up and make breakfast if the kids aren't here. And I think, like, once we had that conversation, I was like, you can tell me you just want me to make breakfast. Just to know I'm not gonna, like, I know that's like a caring concern thing for you, but like, I'm not gonna wake up early if the kids aren't here. So like, you're gonna have to tell me.
So what I heard was
you're gonna have to tell me
was that you love the kids, but you don't love the husband. That's what I just heard.
I mean,
anybody else hear that? That's what I heard.
If that's how you want to internalize it, absolutely. I'd be like, if that's how you want to feel about it, your feelings are valid. Okay. But so you're going to either have to tell me you want me to get up and make you breakfast because I'm not going to get up every day to make breakfast. This is my break.
See.
So
that feels like care and concern. Like Esther said, that feels like care and concern. The kids get care and concern. Husband's like, I don't care.
No, the kids get, if I don't feed them, they gonna starve, and then CPS gonna come take them. That's what they get.
I get you.
They
That's
get
funny.
as soon as they got old enough to make their own food, they be making their own breakfast half of the time. So yeah,
But
if
that's
that's
how
how you
people
want to take
interpret
it,
stuff. Yeah, but that's how
right?
people interpret. Yeah, that's how people
Yeah.
interpret it. Yeah, be real. No, that's a real struggle. I get it. It's interesting. Like I love relationship dynamics because they're so intricate, and I think our culture or society had like automation. We had processes that made us not have to think about some of this stuff. But because so much has collapsed between the church, society, like all of our socially constructed structures, a lot of them have dilapidated. They're not in place. We don't automatically do this. We don't automatically go here. This doesn't automatically have meaning as ascribed to it by church or the Great Society. So we have to now create those meanings. So it becomes more difficult for us because, like we were talking about earlier, curation. We have a hard time trying to curate. Well, what do I want the value for this to be? Because we have to assign values. X equals something. Y equals something. Nobody's telling us what those values are anymore. So back in math class, you had to solve for X, you had to solve for Y. That's what we all have to do. We have to run these calculations. What does X mean in my life? If I want this, and this is how I get there. If I subtract this, divide this, do it on both sides, X equals you do the dishes. Y equals I'll make sure the grass is cut every weekend so you don't feel like your HOA is going to ding you. You know what I'm saying? There has to be some level of negotiation, but we have to figure out what means what for each of us, how we feel about it. So I think that secondary motivation thing is something that's super important that I think gets overlooked. And I haven't heard too many people talk about it. Or if I've heard anybody talk about it.
They really don't. I mean, that's kind of something that I more recently have been communicate our highest order. It helps us cut down on a lot of arguments. Or you could say the highest value set, because that's something we would always, he'd be like, I'm trying to have peace. And I'd be like, child, that's not what I'm trying to have. So that's why we be fighting all the time. Because that doesn't make me feel safe when you're not telling me what you think because you're trying to keep peace. That don't make me feel safe. So I can't ascribe to that. Right? I know you are upset. I know you feel some type of way. And you're not telling me because you feel like peace is the highest order for you. Like I can't give it that. So that's language we started using. Like, okay, what's your highest order right here? Because I feel like you feel like when I cook for you, that's showing that I love you and care about you. But that's not how I feel about it. So like, what's going on? Where we not matching up at?
Nah, that's good stuff.
So,
that's great communication. That's great communication. Now listen, I have two more like 10-minute segments of the show, but I actually have to leave by 5:30, and I really don't want to start either the masculinity or the leadership, because I really actually want to hear other people's thoughts. I have my own thoughts, and I know Bree sounds like she's driving, so I'm really about to be trying to cut up the more 10-minute videos. I can get into one of them if you're interested, but what I would rather do with some more this time, Bree, is I want to hear your opinion about benevolent dictatorship and why you're so opposed to hearing that term.
I hope
I got you. I want to hear what triggers you.
I hope my signal drop. It's probably not, but I really hope.
I wish I clipped that up. I wish I didn't clip that. I didn't clip that part. I can probably do it in 2 or 3 minutes if you want to just go on the rant. And I'll try to find because I have the timestamps.
I don't know. Like, I know, like, even when that pastor guy was talking, I could tell that he used certain language to appeal to his wife. Like, he knows certain language is triggering for her, so he tries not to use those words. I think maybe benevolent dictator is probably an example of that. Like, people trying to make it sound like better than it is. So I don't know if that's like what's going on, but this is an oxymoron, and I just hate it's moronic. It's moronic. It's an oxymoron. Benevolent means to get people to listen to you or to encourage them to follow you by benevolent means, or nice, spoiling, lavishing them with things, generosity and benevolence. And then dictatorship is the opposite. It's usually by force or coercion. Well, not even coercion, it's force. Just force. So I'm like, how you gonna be a benevolent dictator? That's just dumb. You just want to tell people what to do. You now have, I think the reason they say that is because they get their power from money. So like that's what it is. It's
Or they're
I
feeling
have
of
money
power.
now. Yeah, I have money now. So they're that's why they're saying benevolent, because they feel like they're being generous with their partner by sharing their money with them, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they're a dictator because they're still forcing. So like I would be worried about those men being financially abusive if you don't listen to them. Not necessarily if you on their program, like they said, okay, yeah, you I'm generous with you. But if you have an opinion, if you say anything contrary, you can go. Which is, you hear Anton say that. So that's probably why they say that. It's a red flag.
Yeah, shout out to Kevin Samuels. It starts in it's about like 20 seconds out, but I couldn't fine tune it faster,
Got
better
it.
than that.
And it sounds like to some degree, when I'm listening to Odie's perspective, I can imagine that just in general, gender roles and how we traditionally understand them, you might feel that gender roles might be outdated. I don't want to assume that, but let me know. Do you feel like traditional gender roles, is that something that we need to redefine, or we need to really stand on the traditional gender roles that we know, Odie?
I firmly believe that it's something that needs to be recontextualized, right? Because Anton made a statement where he said that I'm a benevolent dictator, right?
Okay.
And a benevolent, I don't believe that benevolent and dictator can go hand in hand. Like there's no.
Okay, this is his response. I don't have the
There's no
timestamp for
God
when he
dealing
said
with
it
you
first.
right there. See that? See how God dealing with you? He know how to. He know how to figure it.
Once again, there's this thing as a benevolent dictator, right? So when we talk about this idea of leadership, when we talk about this idea of engaging in leading, there has to be a particular level of understanding who it is that you are as a man. That's one. But also, two, do you understand what it means to communicate? Do you understand what it means to come to your wife and say, yo, this is what we're doing, this is how we're doing it, and this is the way that it is that we're going to go? A benevolent dictator, like, that means that I'm being nice to you, but I'm still telling you what it is that we need to do.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
I'm still forcing you to do what it is that
No,
I
I
say.
didn't say I forced you. I said that's exactly what I'm doing.
That's what a dictator does.
Oh, listen. I got one rule. I will never force you to be somewhere where you don't want to be. I'm never going to try to convince you to do the thing that's in your own best interest. You know what your best interest is. You know that we are much better together than we are apart. I'm not going to try to convince you, but at the same time, when I took your hand in marriage, you understood that I was going to be the head of this household. Listen, if this house is...
what's up?
That's such threatening language.
Like, you know what's in your best interest.
Yeah,
you know
when
what
they
to
talked
do.
about that what was that third one or that fourth one that women need to feel like they empowered in a relationship, that kind of language that he's saying would cause a woman to not have that realm of empowerment. It's such threatening language, basically. And you know that if you say something to me, I'm gonna beat your ass. So it's in your best interest to do what I say. I can't force you to not talk back to me. I can't
force you. Nah,
but you know what's good for you. But you know, if you talk back to me, I'm gonna beat that ass. So you know it's best for you not to say shit to me. Like that's you. I mean, you can just say that. Like that's what it sounds like.
The third one, I think it was like being able to search yourself and advocate for yourself. That would
without
kind of make
fear.
you feel like
You can't, because he's either gonna leave you. I mean, you think about a woman in a position like his wife. She ain't worked. She ain't never went to college. She ain't never nothing. Like they just been married. So it's like, she also, I mean, you can't tell me you feel empowered to really speak your mind in that kind of dynamic with that kind of person. I just can't.
Yeah, it's tough, man. That's tough. But she be all for it. She was behind him for most of the show, so you know. No.
I mean,
it's tough.
I mean, she got to.
But I get it. See, but here's the part. See, this is where I guess my maleness. This is where my maleness loses touch, because I can't physically feel the powerlessness that women do, I guess, in relationships. I can't embody that. So, like, if I ever felt like somebody's like, you got to do whatever, like, you know what you got to do, I typically I walk away. I'll be out. I'm good. I don't need that. I'm out. I would never, or especially if I knew, like, okay, I could play along until I left. Like when they go to work or when I go to work.
That's when they start putting that money away to the side. Like,
like if I knew I could get safe for the moment, if somebody started talking like that, I'm leaving at the next available time. But what I can't relate to is how, like, I show up again the next day, how I come back, or how I let them. Like that's the part I can't relate to. I can't relate to that level of powerlessness and relinquishing of control.
Of
Like that's the part I can't.
franchise.
I can't feel that. I can't understand it.
And some people like it.
Mentally, somebody explains the words to me. I understand all the language, but I don't know how a person does it.
And some people like it. Like, I don't think that Rita, like, I don't think a woman who wouldn't be able to let go to that degree would be with somebody like him. So I definitely think, you know, like I talk about Shy Cutie is like that. Like, she's very, like, agreeable, highly agree. Like, basically, fold. It don't take much.
Yeah, perforated.
Yeah, perforated.
It's that circle. Like, that circle that just.
Yeah, she just implode, like just absorb me, swallowed up. Like it's. I mean, she has moments where I think it bothers her maybe a little bit when it's not working out in her favor. But ultimately, I mean, I think Rita probably is generally happy with her dynamic. She probably is fine. But that's gonna also that's a compatibility thing. And some women like it. I think also being able to give away your autonomy to some degree is kind of like nice sometimes. So it's not like it's not a state of suffering. As somebody who likes to play around with it, being submissive, even though I'm very headstrong and dominant, I like cutting my brain off and just being like, wherever you say go, I'm gonna go. It's very nice.
But there's a relationship to power even in that, because you have to have a power to give it away. So like there's a ownership of power to concede it to somebody else willfully. You know what I'm saying? Like there's something there. There's a there. I don't know how to articulate it. But there to give something over, you have ownership of it. You know what I'm saying? Like possession. I had to possess it to give it to you. So to give over my control, you didn't take it. I gave it to you. I had it at one point.
Right. Yeah, and I think she's willingly giving that to him. So I don't think she's a victim. I don't think she's suffering. Like I would hope he ain't doing nothing crazy to her. He probably just an abrasive asshole. Like, you know, my brother like that. I love him, but he's just really abrasive. So I couldn't imagine myself being with somebody like him. But he's with somebody who's very agreeable and like they're fine. Like they've been together 20 plus years. I mean, they had their moments, but she probably need to be with somebody like that, honestly speaking.
Maybe.
Yeah. I can't imagine her with somebody who needed more from her in different ways. You know what I mean? So I think they find each other. So I don't think Rita's a victim at all. I could be with somebody like that, but I'm also not as submissive as some women.
Yeah. And Greg, here's my issue with that. Like, I get what you're saying. And that would have been like the thing I would have put in my head. But I was basically as a minor, I was basically a slave. I could not legally leave. If I left, the police would have grabbed me, apprehended the slave catchers, would have brought me back to my parents or to another place of slave holding. I would have been under somebody's control up to the age of 18. There's no, if I escaped, because I get that. I would have left. My mother, I did exactly what I said. I would pretend for the moment, hey, yeah, I'm going to do what you said. I'm going to do what you said. And then when she wasn't there, I would do what I wanted. So that dynamic that I said I would inhabit, I did that. Like I never completely just gave over myself. Like, oh, I'm gonna do what you want while I have you in front of me. But the moment you're not here, oh, it's going down. I'm gonna do what I want. So I knew I was bound to that system. Now, if I knew I was not bound to that system, I had my own means of living outside of my mother, I would have been gone at like 12, 11. I'd have never came back. Never. I wouldn't have. It would have never happened. So I don't know, as an adult, now that I've tasted adultancy, I'm gonna make that word up. Now that I've tasted adulthood, I could not imagine, even if I hadn't worked for a really long time, if I was dealing with somebody that was like totally just disrespectful. And I knew like there were places like shelters. The only thing that might keep me there would be some little children, like under 2 years old.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You start getting into weird dynamics when you start like, this is somebody you're married to. Yeah. And then the longer you're with them and the longer you haven't worked, you don't have no work. You don't have no work history. You don't have no degree to fall back on. You can't keep that. Like it becomes compounded the longer you're with them.
Yeah, so, I can see that. I can see the pressure mounting, and every successive decision, like marriage, whatever your highest order value, whatever marriage means to you, that would be one level. And then, okay, you had a kid. And then you're already telling yourself, well, I've already made a decision I'm complicit at this point. I've thrown in, I've had a kid, and then you have 2, and then you maybe have 3. And at some point you're like, there's too much weight to making the opposite decision. And I can see that, but I can reason through it. I just can't feel it.
But that's why you get that. That's why you get that. The kids grown. I want a divorce kind of thing. So I would be more so. I wouldn't really listen to it. So a lot of these men who are in these dynamics with kids, I would be more inclined to listen to a man who maybe was in this dynamic and their kids gone off to college and they're still married happily. Because women can grin and bear it until the child is grown and out of the house. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't, until their child is probably like grown and out of the house, I just wouldn't be so 100% sure of everything is all great. Like women have a huge ability to tough it out for their kids.
Yeah. That's the higher order that we don't understand that that's running their motivation.
Right.
And we actually have a whole, because I've heard it, and I know this is totally dissimilar, but I've heard of people coming off of things that affected their hormones, and they're suddenly a different person, or they're taking a medication that affects. Yeah, so I could imagine like the thing that's driving your motivations being your children, and then when that's no longer in the equation, now I'm a new person because my whole value set is now shifted. I know I'm not concerned about their safety. All these other things that might have been my highest order have dropped off. Now I've got a new higher order, which means I'm completely reoriented in the world.
Chasing joy.
Man, I'm graduating this relationship.
Joy is the highest order now. The kids are grown. It'll change up on you quick. Yeah, it'll change up. So I'd be curious to know. And she, like, once again, she may really be happy because money could be the highest order. A comfortable life where she ain't got to work. That's pretty high up for me too. Because look, I don't want work. I could work. But I would be moving. How can I get through adulthood without going to work? That's what I'm trying to figure out. So
I'm looking for a 6-figure earning woman that her highest order is to take care of some man. If you need a project to fix, if you need to fix some man, I'm here.
You need a fixer.
You need to pour into some man. Yes, I need a fixer. I need a savior. A woman with a cape on. I need Superwoman. You know, all of y'all are Superwoman. It's all in you. Come on, come save her, bro. Captain Saver, bro. Captain Saver, bro. Come on, y'all.
Yeah, you need that to be the highest.
I know one of y'all got me.
You need that to be the highest order. And people feel a way about that, but like you said, it's performative. But it's like, I mean, shit, I do a little dance. Shit, if I'm getting something on the highest order, it's like, what are you willing to dance for? And I think that's just something people are just not comfortable with. Like people, I think it's okay to be willing to drop something. If that's the highest order, you get what you want. This has got to be a high order so you can do it in a perpetuity. You know what I'm saying?
Like, it has to sustain you. Otherwise, it's gonna be resentment.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're gonna perform, make sure you get in your top 2 or 3, 1 or 2 picks.
Get topped off. Make sure you're getting topped off.
Yeah, for sure.
I get you. That's what's up. So that's your only thing. The same thing Odie had a problem with. You just don't like the benevolent dictator language because the contract dictator has force. Dictator has force and benevolence doesn't.
I can see the archetype behind the statement, like the archetype that he is behind that statement.
So it's like the pretend good guy.
Yeah.
And behind benevolence with Okay.
Or seeing your wife who doesn't work, who you don't want to work. Seeing that as generosity is crazy to me. So I don't know. That's just weird. Like, you don't want her to work. You want her to stay home, but you see her having access to the money you make as you being generous.
That's generosity.
Like, that's problematic for me.
What if by generosity they mean lavish? Like I go above beyond like needs and simple wants.
If you're lavishing, then that's why I say, because like he may be lavishing. His wife may spend money freely. So if you're lavishing her, but you hear a lot of these men want their women to stay home, but they also don't want her to spend money on her hair. They don't want her to spend. You're getting shamed for wanting to do. It's not generous.
Yeah, I get you. The messaging, it's incongruent.
Yeah. So
okay.
Yeah, but I gotta drop off. But it's been cool. I'm glad I got to hear that part.
All right. Yeah, glad you came up. If nothing else, I'm glad we got to that secondary or highest order. I'm glad we got to that because that's important. That's something I want to keep in the front of my mind. But have a good evening, and I'll see you soon, Bree.
Bye.
Bye. All right, y'all. I'm gonna get ready to wrap up. I know I did not get to the leadership of the masculinity. I'm gonna save that for another day because I actually want to do this in the evening where more people can come up. I know a lot of y'all are working. I appreciate y'all work lurking. But I just can't do it this evening. And tomorrow evening, we're doing the B bracket. Saturday and Sunday, I've got religious conversations, and I'm not doing 2 streams. Monday is the B bracket. So maybe like Tuesday or Thursday of next week, I can do like an evening panel because I want to hear other people's thoughts. I want to hear people that don't agree with me. Like when Reckless, right? We were going back and forth, but we actually we had more of an agreement than we had a disagreement. I want other people's opinions on some of this stuff. So when we get to the manhood, what does leadership look like in Black men? And how does masculinity have to come across in Black men? I want to hear other people's opinions. I know some of these talks have been had for 3 years, but I want to get to places that we haven't gotten in the last 3 years, like with that higher order thinking. Like, what's the secondary? I call it a secondary motivation. Like, what's under the surface? So for me, that's why, like, when I'm visualizing things in my head, I'm letting y'all like inside the head. Pause. There's something that people present to you. Like, I'm thinking about this. But for me, the secondary thing is the driver. It's under the surface, like, conscious and subconscious. So that's what I'm saying. Secondary thing in my brain, I'm kind of visualizing the thing that's under the surface, but it's closer to the core of who you are. But for Bree, it's kind of like inverted, the highest order, the top ideal in your mind. And then there's the one that's, you're saying is one of the things. But a lot of times there's the things that people say they want, and what they really want is underneath there or above it, depending on your orientation. That's what I'm talking about. But I think that's dope. I love that concept. And like I said, I'm entertained by concepts and thoughts and ideas. So I know I'm not saving anybody. I get it. I understand. And people don't change. Like Tyshawn said, he's got Anton. He's got all these people, and nothing's making him change. He's in his 30s now, and he's not really trying to change. He's just out here. He's an anomaly. I don't know what to do if people that have access to all the resources, all the people, all the coaching, all the mentors, all the brotherhood, they have everything. They have everything that everybody says they need to gain healthy relationships, and they still choose to do it the opposite way. There's nothing you can do. Multiple people said it in the chat. Blaze, a bunch of people. You can't force people to change. They've got to want to. So, I mean, Mr. He said it. Blaze said it. Yellow was saying it. Man, it's tough. So I don't know if we can educate. We just got to entertain. And if somebody learns something along the way, that's cool. That's dope. If not, and shout out to Greg Bryant, man. Let me shout out to Greg Bryant for the Cash App. He's glad we're back doing a couple talkie streams. So that's going to be some talkie streams. I have time. I have some time to do some streams, and I had to make a space in my room because my nephew's back. My old streaming room, I took over his room for streaming. He's back in it. So I had to cut some room out in my room. I had to actually move some stuff. But it is what it is. I'm going to hit this. Did I keep it? I'm going to hit this for the Cash App before I go. Then I'm going to head out. But I hope y'all have a good night. We'll be back tomorrow with the B bracket. I'll be back sometime next week to finish these conversations. Because, again, I want to do it in the evening where more people can pop up. I know a lot of y'all breeze through because it's working. If y'all not interested, y'all can also let me know that. Put in the comments like, no, don't do it. We don't care. I'm cool with that too. But I'm going to say thank you for the Cash App. I appreciate y'all so much, and I'm gonna head out.
The Prince of Pan-Africanism is back, showing love to all my donors and supporters. We've been at it for 2 hours, and we still got donations to go through.
I'll take that.
See, I get love. Y'all focus on the hate, I focus on the love. Is that a lot?
That's a lot.
I got another donation. Donations. 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 Donations.
Wow, that's a lot.
Gifts. 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 More gifts. More gifts. More gifts.
Wow, thanks.
Yeah, my Twitch Trinity. Y'all need to check out Yella. Y'all need to check out Kawhi Bree. Y'all need to check out Arshawn.
Absolutely. Shout out to those three.
They lie. They procrastinate.
Yeah.
They avoid. They're grandiose. They're narcissistic. They're undisciplined. They're nihilistic. They're aimless. All of those things. right?
Victim
Victim mentality. They take the quick way out. They pursue impulsive pleasures. They sacrifice meaning for expediency. They don't take care of their basic responsibilities. They fight stupidly with their parents. They don't negotiate properly with their spouse. They're bitter at work because they haven't said what they have to say. They haven't thought through what they're doing tomorrow. They drink too much. They smoke too much. They take too many drugs. They don't regulate their yeah. So it's like, and everyone knows, man. Everybody knows.
Thank you, everyone, for critically drinking. We are so grateful for your continued support and viewership, and we know we wouldn't be here without you, so we really appreciate you choosing to spend your time with your favorite dime. We hope that you're enjoying the show. Let me know what you think on the topic. Drop a comment in the chat. Thank you. Are y'all with me out there?
I'ma head out. Okay? Good luck, ladies.
Black women, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with y'all? You niggas are crazy.
Hey, blood. You niggas is certified boosie ass weirdos, blood.